Hello and welcome to episode 72 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. My name's Davey, and joined with me, as always, is the fine wine himself, Philip Hoy.
All aboard the sex train. All aboard the sexy train.
And the man who puts the choo-choo in the sexy train, Spencer Davis. How the hell are you doing?
Choo-choo, boys, choo-choo. Bring in the sexy back, baby.
I choo-choo choose you, King, as our king. I thought last episode I was being really nasty to you, and I was really bitter. This episode I'm turning over a new leaf. So I'm going to be thankful for your reign, but you've only got one more episode that you can do this, and then I don't want to hear about it again. But anyway, guys, this is episode 72 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. Our job today is to entertain, educate, and guide you through the wonderful world of PlayStation. And for that, we are going to be going through a stack of stuff. We, of course, have got the usual run of the show where we're going to talk through what we've been playing, move it on to quick news, and end up with a juicer of a topic talking all about Ubisoft and the physical versus digital debacle that they are finding themselves in the midst of. But before we get to any of that, guys, Phil, you are bringing this week's question to us, a random question which we try and educate the audience on. And what are we going through today?
Why, yes, Davey. I've got a little question for you two. And it's one that's come from Twitter, just come randomly on my timeline, on the For You feed of Twitter, because lots of things get put in there. A lot of it gets blocked automatically. Some of the stuff that appears on my Twitter, you would not want me to repeat. But this one I thought was safe for the show. Okay, so you get to choose one. We're taking pills now, okay? We're not trying to change our minds. We're trying to change our prospects in life with these pills. So we have the red pill. And you can be rich. Okay, you take the pill and you are instantly rich. We've got the green pill, and that allows you then to read minds. We have the yellow pill, and that gives you the infinite luck. So that's luck forever, infinitely. And then the last one is a little blue pill, and that gives you plus 5 inches. Plus 5 inches to wear? I guess you get to choose, but we'll leave that up to your imagination. Spencer, I want to come to you first. I just want to know the colour you're going for first, and we'll loop back round for explanations.
Sure, okay. So I thought about this a little bit, looking at these little pills. And as much as I'd like to take them all, I'll only choose one. Because each one got a good purpose. But the one I think I've settled on is the red pill. I'd quite like to just be rich.
Okay, Davey, which one are you going? What's your immediate choice there?
Immediate choice, infinite luck. Infinite luck. Definitely going for a yellow. 100%.
Okay, I've been super kind to you guys, and I forgot to mention at the top of the show, we couldn't have the same one. So you've chosen Infinite Luck. That was going to be the one I would have gone for. So I guess I'm stuck with extra 5 inches, which, to be fair, I don't think I need. You know, I'm 6'2". I'm towering above you boys anyway. So I don't really need the extra 5 inches. But maybe I'll have to go with, well, I suppose I have to go with, that's the only one left, is read minds. Okay, so that'll be the pill I'll take. I'll take the green one. So coming back around to you, Spence, I want to know why you're going to be rich. What's the purpose of this? How's it going to change your life?
Sure, okay. So, realistically, if you're rich, you got a lot of money, shit just gets handed to you. You don't need anything else. Let's be honest. That 5 inches I'm missing, the money makes up for it. Women ain't going to care about that. And I was thinking the 5 inches because I thought I wouldn't even put it anywhere near me, Todge. I'd just make myself taller. That's what I'd like. I'd be level with you boys. But alas, I'll stay shrunk, but I'll buy us a studio. And the way I have to imagine this pill works is that obviously if you can read minds forever. Plus 5 inches, that's forever. Infinite luck, that's forever. Surely it's not just a set amount of money. It's so much money that you could spend all of it and you will still somehow be rich. You're rich indefinitely.
People have different levels of rich, right? And so to a poor person, you may be rich right now, Spence, right? But to
someone
Elon
on the
Musk,
streets. Yeah.
To Elon Musk, you're nothing. You're a little insect, a little ant that you can just squish, right, with his infinite money. But if you want to be if you're rich to him, you're mad rich, yeah. So the richest in the world, kind of rich, I reckon.
You want to be Saudi rich.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Saudi
oil,
rich.
Yeah.
Oil prince. Yeah.
That should be the bracket, shouldn't it? Be rich, Saudi rich.
Yeah.
I think it's just an indefinite amount of money. It's like you could spend as much you want and the same amount is still there. You just have money. Kind of like if you pulled 100 quid out your pocket, reach back in, there'd just be another 100 every time. You just have so
Let's
much
think
money.
big spends, 100. You're pulling out just
Yeah,
100.
well, I mean,
You know, little pockets there.
little pockets, but they're infinite, mate. To infinitum, you could just pull out money, my friend. Just whatever you want. And I think out of all the pills, that's the one that makes... I wouldn't want to read minds because you just know what everyone thinks of you. And a lot of time you don't want to know, I think. I think it'd be beneficial in like betting or maybe wooing a woman. But I got money. If I lose the bet, it's good. And with women, I got money. I ain't got to woo them. I just got to be like, come yard. Sound.
Come
On the way.
Jeffrey,
Infinite luck.
pick up-
I don't need
pick
luck.
up
I'm
home.
rich. Mate, it's fine. I think literally being rich beats all of these. And it's the one I would choose.
Okay, so you pop the pill. What's the first thing you're buying?
The Studio for us.
Studio. You're
100%,
going straight
yeah.
out by studio.
Yeah, either that or a big old house for me. Yeah, just big old house. Or just taking us on a lad's tour. That'd be quite sick.
I reckon all this is bullshit. I reckon first place he goes, right, is Turkey, and he gets that operation where he gets stretched. You've seen those blokes that have had that done? And they get like extra, like their knees like elongated or whatever. And they spend loads of money to be like 3 inches bigger. Because you could get that 5 inches, like you say, you could just stretch yourself a little bit. And
Not
do
worth
that.
it.
No.
He's getting the
Get
pec
those
implants.
fat injections.
He's getting
in
the
your
works.
cock. So you just got that big curvy sausage roll dick.
The turkey smile.
You could do all that, mate.
Jesus Christ.
I think that's the first place we go. You'll be like, lads tour, mate, lads tour. Turkey. And you come back. You won't have the turkey teeth. You'd have turkey legs, mate.
Turkey legs, baby. Turkey cock.
Okay, then. So, Spencer, you're going to be rich forever if you take that red pill. Davey, you chose the infinite luck. Tell me why.
So I'm thinking infinite luck just benefits you in every single way. You got no chance of getting run over. You got no chance of like being on a plane and it crashing. You've got literally nothing that can go wrong will go wrong. So I could say to myself, I'm going to jump out this window and army roll at the bottom and I reckon I'll be fine. And then they'd be like, no chance. But as you roll out, you're fine because luck's on your side. They'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe you landed into that hay bale that was strategically put underneath you that you had no idea about, like Assassin's Creed style. So whatever you want to do, you could just do it. And then if I wanted to get rich, just play Euro Millions, win. And I could just win every single week if I wanted to. Infinite luck, baby.
I'm not sure luck works like that. I think if you jumped off a building and you didn't die, but you were horribly crippled, people would still count you as lucky.
It's true.
That's true.
I don't think luck means you are invincible
true.
for the rest of your life. If you survive in some vegetated state, they might go, he was quite lucky, wasn't he?
But then the doctor may say, there's a chance, a slim chance, that you'll recover to 100%. And you know it's a cert. You're like, oh, they'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Just like, oh, luck's willing me back. And before you know it, you're absolutely fine. You're goated. But I think you could do anything you want. You know, you could go in and you could say like, right, you go in, they'd be like, right, we got this product V that would give you superpowers so you can read minds. But there's a strong chance, you know, it's about an 80-20% like success to failure ratio. 80% die when they try this. But you've got no worries because you got that infinite luck on your side. So you're like, yeah, no worries, chuck it at me. So anything you do, you know that you could swim in the middle of the ocean, sharks won't get you. All this stuff that could happen on a daily basis, that back of the mind thought of, oh, I could die here. Like the previous question, 20 minutes alone with an animal. Turns out when I get in there, they're just not that interested in me. And so that 20 minutes, they
lucky. That would be lucky.
That would be
lucky.
Or I go to make that jump onto that hippo and I'd actually land it and tame it. You know, that kind of stuff. This infinite luck, I reckon, is just cracked, like totally cracked.
I'm thinking, mate, the issue is I feel you get bored of stuff because everything you do, you're playing Street Fighter, right? Every read you make will be right.
Yeah.
Every last one, because you'll be so lucky. And if you try a combo, it'll work because of the luck. You'll be like, oh, that was lucky. I can't believe that linked. It does.
Yeah.
Somehow it does. Everyone else tries doing it. They're like, what the fuck? How? You just press buttons randomly on your fight stick, looking away, having a sip of your coffee, and it'll do a combo for you. And they'll be like, "How'd you do that?" "Oh, lucky, mate. You're lucky, I guess." It's infinite.
Although you might actually win a game of Monopoly, though. You know, you're always rolling 6s or 12s, I guess, because you got 2 dice in Monopoly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you? No.
Yeah, you. Trying to think now. Do you?
I don't think
Don't
you do.
Do you? I don't know. Can't remember. I haven't played Monopoly in a long time. Anyway, my point was that you would always make the right roll. So no one would want to play against you. You'd be banned from all the casinos. You wouldn't be able to make any money off the luck, would you? Because people would be a sucker. The word would get round. They'd be like, don't play him. He's got infinite luck. He'll always get, like the royal flush. He'll always roll the right dice. He'll always spin the wheel and get the right number.
Yeah, but if you play poker, someone will be like, his luck's bound to run out one day. You have no idea whilst he sits with his Euro Millions money in his own maze house that he's won. That he's reading every option on everyone. And with this infinite luck, you might be able to actually sell some wine.
Yeah, I probably would.
True,
yeah,
true.
I probably would. I probably would be able to, yeah. SSJ Rosé, I could actually make it a reality. And I just turned out to be lucky. Oh, he's a wine connoisseur, this guy. Best tasting one I've ever tasted. So, yeah, I think it's just cracked. I don't think there's any downside to it at all. I mean, there's certain things I'd like to have. If you just got Be Rich, you don't have to do any effort, right? You just got it. So whereas I have to go out and buy Euro Millions, I have to go out and win at the casino, I have to actually play these things, I have to do these stuff. Spencer,
You get the thrill, don't you?
Yeah. So
I can still play it. I just buy enough tickets that I'm a guarantee to win.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, you could just be playing the system on that, couldn't you?
I just buy them all, mate.
Yeah.
Then there's one left and you buy it with your infinite luck and it happens to be the one.
But it'd just be wild because you could just go into like whatever profession I wanted to do. Like go into a heavyweight boxing. It's like, there's no way. You'd have to get one lucky punch. And all of a sudden that punch just puts someone on the ground. It's like, what?
One lucky punch.
That's all it takes. Like, it would just be wild. So
That's
I think
hilarious.
it's 100% the best, in my opinion. And Phil, I can see why you would have wanted to have picked this one as well. What would have been your reasons? I know you obviously can't pick it now. I've already devoured it and got that luck. But what would you have wanted to have done with this luck? Or what was your reason for picking it?
Well, the thing about it, after hearing both of your kind of responses for taking these pills, a lot of them has led to you being infinitely rich and popular and successful in life. And I'm thinking, well, would I want that? I quite enjoy my relatively mundane life. And I believe with the pill that I would take now, the Read Minds, and probably if I did take the infinite luck, I wouldn't push things too far. I think I would probably just settle with just an average life, because to be at that top level, that top echelon, which you guys are talking about, that's going to get boring real fast. Okay, you can have the women, you can have the cars, you can win all the tournaments, and everyone would love you, you'd be super popular. But you wouldn't have 153 subscribers on a YouTube channel with a fifth best PlayStation podcast in the world right now, would you? And I could be doing that with Reading Minds, but I could set up for better questions, couldn't I, when I interview people? Because I would kind of know what you're thinking. I wouldn't just be hanging you out to dry with a random question which you're not prepared about. I'd be ready for it because I've already read your mind. So I think the day-to-day stuff for me, the reading of minds, it would just subtly help me go through my day and my life would just be a little bit better. That's where I would go with it. I wouldn't go to the top like you guys.
What a waste. The government would pay you so much for that power. You have the ability to read minds, right? And they'd be like, what is Putin thinking? Is he actually going to invade? And you'd be like, hold on a second. Yeah, he is.
He's on his way.
Yeah, he's going to do it right now, guys. You want to strike,
He's on the border.
They'd pay you whatever for that. And you could still have a mundane life because they wouldn't want you going out and doing this for anything else. They wouldn't want you on a game show, would they? You know, you're facing the chasers. And you're just reading the chaser's mind. You know, they wouldn't want that.
The Chasers or Eggheads. That would be actually probably the show I'd go on and just fuck those guys.
Yeah.
Because have you ever watched that show? It's so condescending, isn't it, when they win? They're like, ha ha ha, we're the Eggheads. Ha ha ha, we're the Chaser. Bog off, mate. I can read minds now. I'm going to slay you.
Yeah, I know.
Then I would use my powers. So yes, you are right. I would use it in very specific times, but generally not to actually better my life too much.
Oh, that's very selfless. I mean, I would straight away be trying to take over the world immediately with my powers. 100%. because you could just be like, all you do is you first off go off and you prove that you can do it. So you go on TV and you're like, look, I'll take that. You know, there's that prize up for £1 million if you can prove that you got some kind of supernatural powers that people have. Like there was that guy.
Really?
Yeah. There's some guy who said he could like use his key to like your energy, chi, to turn the pages of a book, right? Just by like doing this. And today he was using just wind power to do it. He got found out. Like,
have you been watching David Blaine again?
No. This is true.
And just
like
believed the magic is real.
It was all about this scientist guy who like was proper skeptical. Yeah. You could go on and you could just prove to him that it's real. And the guy's like, yeah, Jesus Christ, it's real. He's got the £1 million straight away, the £1 million prize. Well done. We now know that psychics do exist, right? And then all you do is, as soon as that's proven, you then could go out on TV and say whatever, right? So you could just say, oh, he's thinking this. So if anyone comes against you, you could be like, oh, he thinks about shagging kids all the time. And everyone would be like, oh, cancel him. Like, you'd have so much power. And you could just say whatever you want, even if it wasn't true. And everyone would believe you because you've been proven to be right. So you could, because who are they going to believe? The guy who's got the powers to read minds, or somebody saying, no, he's talking bullshit? They could think of the guy who reads minds is right. So you could just say, oh, yeah, this guy's a right nonce. He loves thinking about kids. And the guys could be like, no, I'm not. He'd be like, oh, he's thinking about it twice as hard now. What are they going to do? Nothing. They're totally out of options. Checkmate.
I do think out of the 3 pills, my one has the, most potential to turn you into a supervillain, really, yeah. Reading minds. The other 2, you could just be rich. Okay, is Elon Musk a bad guy? Not really. Okay, he's changing Twitter to an X. Big whoop. Infinite luck, you're rolling some dice, getting a little bit lucky with the girls. Reading minds, as you're saying, that's changing the world.
Yeah, you do whatever you want.
Yeah, but I mean, infinite luck, he could try to invade a country and he'd succeed.
Oh, that was lucky.
It just walks in, he's just like, oh, give me the keys to the city or whatever. They'd be like, oh, I've lost them. Found them. That was lucky. And then off you go.
I like the way that every time the luck strikes, someone has turned around and went, that was lucky.
Yeah, every time.
Everyone's really shocked by the strange amount of luck that this guy's having.
I can just imagine you just walking out solo on the battlefield against like hundreds of tanks. They all fire, right? And all of them are just like flying past you. Like on Metal Gear Solid 2, where that woman Fortune is there and all the bullets are bending around her. And everyone's like, Jesus Christ. And I think someone in that game says, her luck's bound to run out. No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. You'd be straight there.
Not with your little yellow pill.
No. Oh, man. Great. Absolutely great. I'm glad nobody picked 5 inches. I'm glad.
Yeah,
glad that
not
wasn't
worth it.
It's such a letdown. 5 inches. 5 inches on your cock. Even if you got I suppose if you got micro dick, 5 inches on your cock, you got a normal size penis. But anyone else, it turns into a monster, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And
make a great porn career, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Here's your
suppose
money.
so. Yeah, I guess.
OnlyFans?
I guess. Yeah, I suppose you're right. I suppose you could do something with that. 5 inches on our height.
Couldn't wear shorts again, though.
Yeah.
No.
And the question.
That is a big one for me.
Yeah, that's a big no-no. Unless you like showing it off. In which case you could just hang free. Why not? Why not? But there you go. Great question, Phil. Really enjoyed that. Absolutely love that.
Thank you.
Audience, I would love to know what you think. Which pill would you pick? Let us know right into the email pswetrust@gmail.com or reach out to us on the socials. They are all in the description of the show. Now, guys, let's dive in to what we've been playing.
This time on NPS We Trust, what have the boys been playing?
So, guys, it's been 2 weeks since the last podcast episode, and I'm desperate to know what you've been up to in that time. Mr. Hoy, the fine wine, I want to hear it from you first. What have you been up to these last 2 weeks?
Well, Davey, I'm glad you asked. I've been plugging away with a few games that I've mentioned a couple of times now on the Ball podcast. I've been playing a little bit of Street Fighter here and there, been doing the world tour, and actually jumped in some ranked matches as well. I've got the Octogate now installed on my setup, so I'm playing a little bit more Blanca, which I'm enjoying. I'm probably not at your level, guys, so that's why I haven't come and challenged you just yet. But I'm plugging away, learning my skills, and trying to up my rank slightly. But yeah, It's very difficult, isn't it? There's a lot of people in at the moment. A lot of people fully understand the game, where I'm still just getting to grips. So I'm still plugging away with Street Fighter. I played a couple more missions on the hired gun. So that's the Warhammer Necromunda first-person shooter story game. It's all right. As I said last podcast, it hasn't got better. It's just more of the same. There has been a couple of interesting boss fights, but again, I won't bore you with those because they're very Warhammer specific. But outside that, I've been jumping in some multiplayer with you guys. Last night, we had the pleasure of going back in and rocking some stone with Deep Rock Galactic, which I absolutely loved. And I would love to play that over and over again because I feel like we haven't put enough time and effort into that game for what it's worth, because there is so much content there that we need to get through. So every Thursday night, I suggest we try and do at least 1 or 2 missions because I am absolutely loving that game at the moment. I don't know about you guys.
John, I fully agree with you. I think we stepped away from it for quite a long time. We've been dipping our toes into lots of other things and kind of jumping around from one thing to another. A bit of Dying Light here, a bit of COD here, and all that stuff. But it was lovely to be back to Deep Rock. It really was. And it's one of those things that we came off it last night. I thought, Jesus Christ, like we have done ourselves a disservice here because we played it quite a bit to start with and then just stopped because other things kind of came up. I think you're right. I think we need to just commit to this now. Get it done. Because as soon as we do and we get all our characters leveled up, we can go into the deep dives and see what all the game's got. We then open ourselves up to go and do Remnant 2 and do like all these, and Diablo and all these other co-op games that we've got kind of ready to go. I think we just commit and see things through first before we move on. Yeah, I don't know if you feel the same way, Spence.
Oh, mate, I 100% feel the same. I mean, initially, we started playing last night, and initially I forgot everything about that game. Couldn't remember how to scan stuff, couldn't remember how to look at the terrain around you, that little map, the 3D map you can bring up. Couldn't remember how to dig or swap weapons, or even, I couldn't remember how to heal yourself. Didn't remember a single thing about that game, I just knew you had to dig. And so I thought, that's what I'll do. I played the digger, so I just got my drillers out and just dug. And then as all the mechanics and everything came back to me, and we started finding those eggs and those nuts and killing those swarms and attaching the pipes to those, whatever they are, fuel things. By the end of it, I was like, what a sick game. It genuinely is an amazing game. And thing is, I thought it was quite easy when we started playing last night. And then we tried that one mission, which was like 1 level up from our difficulty. And we died in like a minute.
Absolutely destroyed.
We got hammered. And I was like, oh my God, this game, we have so far to go with this game. And like you said, I think we are doing a disservice. I think we really should see this game through. I think it would be a great time. And Thursday night, boys, happy to do it.
I just didn't want to stop, really. And for once, it wasn't my choice to stop, was it, Spencer? So, yeah, it's all coming up Hoy at the moment. The only other game we've been playing, a little-known game, I don't think many people have heard of this one. This is Call of Duty we've been playing as well, a little bit. And now on Season 4, we've opened up the new raid, and we have completed it, the trio. And, again, absolutely superb experience. We've got to the end of the story now, so no spoilers here in our discussion here of the final part of the COD Raid. But Davey, do you want to take me through some of your experiences there through the last raid that we did?
Sure. So each of these raids, they've all had like separate little gimmicks. So they've had different like kind of number puzzles. They've had different platforming sections. For this one, it was more a case of guiding people around things. And there was a couple of different ways that was kind of implemented and done. So the first, it starts off, you're kind of arrested in jail cells, and 2 people are able to look at monitors, and the third person is totally blindfolded. And so that means that third person cannot see where they're going, they can see barely anything, and they're reliant on directions from the other 2 players to be able to traverse around lasers, to get over jumps, and to be able to progress and free the other captors. And it was absolutely incredible. And I started off being the blindfolded person, and I was like, guys, I cannot see anything. Like I physically cannot see anything. And Phil's like, move left. I'm like, I'm blocked. Oh no, right. Oh, back a little bit. Oh no, oh, you're dead. And it was just really fun. And then when we swapped and Spence got to see what I was seeing, I mean, you must have been able to empathize a little bit with what I was going through, Spence, surely.
I could, mate. I definitely could empathize with what you were saying, but I thought you weren't as blind as you were pretending to be, unless you were playing without your glasses on as well. Because I could see enough. Like there's one part where you're blind and you got to do a jump, and they just have to tell you when to jump. And I could just about make out when the edge of the floor shows up. So I was like, I could make this jump. And you were like, no, we'll tell you. I just did it, and I made the jump. I think you were making it harder for yourself. But at the same time, I don't think you were being given the best instructions from either of us. Because neither of us, we were like, what can you see? I can see downstairs. I can see upstairs. But he's got to go down. Does he? Because neither of us could see the next room. So we were like, where'd he go? And then there's a fella down there. So it was like, oh, not downstairs. Go run upstairs now. It was fun. I think it was good. And there's so much more to that level, that final raid, than just that blindfold bit. That's literally just icing on the cake. That's just how it starts. There's like another, it took us like hour and a half, 2 hours.
Hour and a half. Yeah,
that was like 10 minutes. That blindfold section, that it goes on for ages. When Infinity Ward's best time is 16 minutes. Yep.
That first section, though, it did remind me a lot of the 80s TV show, or children's TV show, Nightmare. I don't know if either of you are familiar with it, but part of it was a person would walk around with a blindfold on, but they could see beneath their feet, and it was like a 3D world, and it was the kids would sit at in the castle, or so people thought, and they would guide them through this sort of maze. So it was very similar, and I was there saying, Davey, take 2 steps to your left. No, duck, 2 steps to your right. And yeah, you did fall off a couple of times, which was hilarious. And kind of, I just wanted to see you get caught by the laser as well. There was a little bit of that. So there's no surprise we didn't make it anywhere close to the Infinity Ward time, because I think we're just having fun at the start, weren't we?
Yeah. And I got to say, I know we've said it so many times on each of these raids, but for me, this is one of the biggest standouts for COD. I'm like, what? I think I was saying before, I think I'm like 400 odd hours now into Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, something like that, something daft. And this has definitely been the highlight for me. These 4 different raid chapters that we've done over this last year have been exceptional. They've totally blown me away. And it's been something I've looked forward to every single time we get a new season. And to see it end is sad, but then it gets me hyped then that I'm hoping that this kind of continues with all the Infinity Wards, because this is much better than the Spec Ops content we had, much better than any of that. I'd hope against hope that this returns. I really do. I thought it was absolutely superb.
A hell of a lot of praise, mate, but I completely agree. This whole mode, I was really gutted when this game came out because I thought it doesn't have zombies, and I thought that was all it needed. It was just those zombies until we tried those raids. And I'm not going to say each raid is better than the last, so I think the first one was probably the best one. I can't even remember what the gimmick was, but the gimmicks...
It was the breathing, wasn't it?
Oh, the breathing, yeah, and the water. And we
breathing.
had an absolute mess of a time just hogging that oxygen tank, just trying to swim the opposite way, being like...
Taking double huffs.
Yeah, double huffing that oxygen tank. It was stupid, but we had a lot of fun with that one, whereas the other ones, I think, have been a lot more trial and error and a lot more frustrating, namely this last one. Not going to name any names, both for you. But I think they're getting harder with each one as well.
White men can't jump, Spence, like, what can I say? I just cannot jump. I can't jump in that game, and I can't jump in Deep Rock Galactic. What do you want from me?
That's the way it goes, my friend. Get some hover boots, mate. Sort you right out. But I think they seemingly get harder, and I think the actual encounters you even have with enemies outside of the puzzles and challenges are really actually very hard. So it's just good. I think it's a good way to also learn the game, learn the mechanics of the game, learn how to move in the game with all these different kind of puzzles, and learn how to fight multiple enemies at the same time whilst keeping yourself alive and being behind cover. I think it's something I would encourage everyone to play if you got 2 mates, and hopefully if you have a nice happy life, you do.
Yeah, and that's not to even mention the story. I found that the story itself was super compelling. I really wanted to know what was going to happen next to the trio, really, that was exploring that underground bunker. I won't give too much away, as I said, no spoilers on this. But each season that came through, I was like, when's the raid? When's the raid? When are we doing this? It was always top of my list to want to play, because the story itself was standout. It is a bit bittersweet, as Davey said, that we're now at the end with season 4 of the raid. It now has tied up with the story. So as the boys have said, I'm really hopeful now that we do see raids continue with Infinity Ward, and we get more of that in a future COD, because I would definitely be down for it. And it's kind of really one of the main factors for me buying a future COD is if they include the raids, really, because I jump into multiplayer every now and again, but I'm not as invested as you boys are with the run and gun that is the multiplayer of Call of Duty. But the COD raids themselves, the teamwork that's involved in that, I really love that. And if it is in a future COD, I'll be day one.
They'll be leaving money on the table if they don't. That's for damn sure. So, Phil, that's everything for yourself covered off. Spence, let's move it over to yourself. You've been having a bit of a reunion with your PlayStation VR 2, as I understand it.
I have, but I've also had a reunion with something else.
Ooh.
Which I'll talk about first, just because it's very small, very brief. So I'll mention that first. I recently had a reunion because I found it after cleaning my room and getting everything sorted. As watchers, as you can see, there's not a giant pile of shit in my room anymore. And that's because we were doing up one of the rooms, so we just had to leave it all in here. So now all my stuff is back in my room. Everything else is back in the appropriate place, which means I have my Vita again. So I've been playing a little game called Tearaway, and I'm only, I think, at the end of the second chapter. And at first, I was thinking, what a dog shit game this is. I thought it was so gash. I'm the sun, and it literally has it has a camera on the front of the Vita, so you can see yourself in the sun, and they call you a you. Whoa. And your whole...
Just like Teletubbies, right?
Exactly like Teletubbies. Yeah, exactly that. And you're just trying to deliver your mail to yourself. And that's kind of the entire game. And I thought, this is awful. But the more I played it, you unlock abilities as you go. You use the rear trackpad a lot to help out your little letter getting to yourself. And now I'm really enjoying it. It's actually really fun. I'm kind of just looking for time where maybe I'm away from my PlayStation, but I still want to play a game. And I'm trying to find time to squeeze in those little sessions with Tearaway. And it's a short game, so I'm hoping I'll have it done by next episode. But other games exist, so I can't promise that. But it's a hope.
Well done. I mean, this is Media Molecule's last real game. I know they've done, a lot of other games since, but this is their last kind of real one. And it's a game that I bought on my Vita. I haven't completed it, actually. I haven't even got that far, I don't think. But the gimmicks on it are great. I mean, Media Molecule always were really good at being able to incorporate the features of any given hardware into their games. And, having your finger appear through as you press on the back of the rear touchpad and stuff is always fun to kill enemies. I think that's just a great little gimmick, that. Really charming little game. And I'll be looking forward to seeing what you think of it when you wrap it. The Platinum's apparently really, really quite easy as well. And then there is a PlayStation 4 version of it, which you can download for free on Extra, I think, right now.
Yeah, Tearaway Refolded, I think?
Yeah, so I think you could then
Unfolded.
just do it all again if you wanted to. You might even be able to upload the save and just get double platty, for all I know. But I don't know that for sure.
But yeah, that's my time. I've been spending that with my Vita in my downtime, and I'm actually really enjoying it. But like you said, it's been a reunion for me. The other thing I've reunited with, my PSVR 2. So with me reuniting with my PSVR 2 as well, there's a big game that I've been playing by myself, just single player game, and that is Synapse. And it's a game that Davey, you and I were really excited for. I bought it. I knew I was going to be able to use my PSVR 2 again soon. So I bought it ahead of time and had it installed. And the day my room was sorted, straight onto Synapse. And I can say I've now beat the story of Synapse. But then it carries on. And it's like a roguelike. But it's weird. I beat the game, and then it turns out you don't beat the game. You get a trophy saying you've beat the game. But it still keeps going, and the story's still going. So I'm not quite sure what's happening. But the whole game is basically you have a weapon of your choice. So you start with a pistol, but you can unlock abilities. And the first ability you can unlock is you can choose to have a statue appear in the level that will present you two options. And one's maybe a stronger pistol, or maybe a shotgun, or maybe a submachine gun, maybe a grenade launcher. The other option could be a gun, or it could be an upgrade to your telekinesis, making it stronger, making explosions do more damage, making you grab enemies and chuck them even further. Stuff like that. So you have your gun, and you have on your left hand your telekinesis powers, which I've never seen it work as well as it does in this game. You genuinely feel like you're Magneto, just lifting up barrels, chucking them at enemies and crushing them to make them explode. Oh, it's so sick. You can grab an enemy from across the way, pull them towards yourself and shotgun them in the face as they fly by. It is so satisfying.
That's cool.
I genuinely think it might be one of the best PSVR 2 games I've ever played. Or maybe VR games I've ever played. It's way up there. But I do think as you upgrade your abilities, the difficulty gets a bit too easy. It's really difficult at the start, but the abilities clearly are quite strong. And the game, now I think the game's relatively easy to the point where I've started playing it a bit less. Because it's less of a challenge, it's a bit less fun. But just the powers, the gimmick of the powers, is so satisfying. It really is a great little game to just go in and chuck stuff about. It's really fun.
You say you've completed the story, Spence. How many hours did you put into Synapse? Purely because, the PSVR 2 games, generally, they don't have a long sort of shelf life for completing the actual main story of the game. So what were you saying? Was it sort of under 10 hours? Was that relatively where you were at with this one?
I beat it in about 2 hours.
2 hours? Okay, so really, really short then.
Yeah, but then it turns out that I don't want to spoil the story because it's quite a new game. But it turns out that the story, it says you've beaten the game, but then the story just carries on. And I think I basically have an extra 3 hours.
It does that in lots of games, doesn't it? Where it kind of tricks you. Portals did the same, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's kind of done that. And apparently there's a secret ending as well that I don't even know how to get. But who knows? I'm not sure yet. I'm yet to get there. So when I do, I'd love to talk about it a bit more.
So that's huge praise, though, to put it up there. I mean, to think that we've had such great games as Gran Turismo, RE8, all these other seminal kind of experiences that people go to first for this medium, and for you to come out and be like, "Yep, Synapse just clears them." It's just great. I'm so glad to hear that. Because you bought it, it means I've got it as well. But I've not had the chance yet to go into it because I've been too busy with the games that I'll be talking about in a moment. But I'm so hyped. I mean, this was a game that as soon as we saw it, we were hyped about it. The art style always looked really interesting. Do they use that art style quite effectively across the game, or does it become kind of run of the mill after a while, after you kind of get used to it?
I do think it is very run of the mill. It's no level really looks too different from the level before. It is quite generic, and the levels don't really, nothing's randomly generated or anything. The levels do repeat. Obviously I beat the 6 levels, I think, and then beat the game. And now that I'm back doing the story again, I'm going through the same levels, but the story's just going deeper and the enemies are a bit tougher and I've got more abilities to play with. So it's kind of like a roguelike in that sense. It's just not procedurally generated or anything. And the art style it doesn't change. So it is a bit of a shame. But it's a very dull world where the colors aren't really in effect, but then your telekinesis makes things glow and stuff. So it looks pretty, and it kind of makes you feel stronger in that sense where you can see what you're doing. But I wouldn't say the art style is amazing for this game. Very pretty, but it does get old very quick.
Would you say for new people coming into the PSVR 2 sort of ecosystem that this is a must buy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's 100% a must buy. It's not even an expensive game. I think it was £25 or something for a game that really you could get infinite playtime out of because you just mess about. Just play about with the game. Once the story ends, carry on. It's still a fun game. Just keep playing it. And the story's behind it anyway. It's if you could kind of liken it to Super Hot, I think, with the art style and the way you play, where you have a gun and you have an ability. Super Hot, you stop time by moving. This, you have Magneto powers. It's a bit of an upgrade, I think. And it does look way prettier. The game does look stunning. It's just the art style's a bit, yeah. But 100% a must buy. 100%.
So rating-wise, are you confident enough to give this a rating?
8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. Okay, great.
I wouldn't say that's on the same level as a normal 8 out of 10. That's a VR-specific 8 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah. VR specific. So I don't think it's not a Half-Life Alex.
Why do you always have to muddy the results, man? It's always either an 8.25. You know, like it's a high 8, it's a low 8. Now it's a VR specific 8. Like,
There's always a caveat,
there
isn't
is
there?
always something.
VR games can't compare to games. You know, they're different. None of them.
That's an omission, isn't it?
They are different. I mean, some of them are like, yeah, they're phenomenal, and you could compare them, but really, you just can't. It's a different experience. It's like you're playing on a whole different hardware. You can't compare a PS5 game to a PSVR 2 game, even though they technically are the same hardware, because they're nothing like each other. They don't play in the same way. It's its own thing.
I get where you're at with that. I get where you're at. They are very different experiences, and there's something about the kind of novelty that comes in a VR game, and having this kind of like Wild West that we're in, where you can have so many varied experiences that you've just never had anything like it. So like when we were talking about Kayak VR, I was talking about it like as if it's a 10 out of 10 game. Really, it's just kayaking. There's nothing more to it. But there's something about that world and doing that activity that is just so kind of mind-blowing for somebody that's never experienced VR. So I do get what you're saying in that. I do understand your logic. So what else have you been playing then on this good old piece of VR2 kit?
Sure. So the last game I'll talk about is one that you and I, my friend, have been playing together. It's kind of been our little casual game to dip in when we don't want to play anything stressful, even though it has been stressful at times. And it's given me an injury as well that I think still hurts today. And this was like 4 days ago I did this. It still hurts. It's like doing 4 hours in the gym all at once and then coming out, and the next day you'd be like, ah! That game, Walkabout Mini Golf VR on PSVR 2. You would never think it. Never think it. But this game has a driving range. And for 2 trophies, one is get 1,000 points. That was fine. I got that in like 5 minutes. Easy. The other one is hit every single target. These targets are miles away and you're using a putter. You have to swing your arm. And really, to get an optimal swing, you're not aiming. You're trying to get power. You're not aiming. You're just whack, 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 whack. I did that for like 40 minutes straight. So the next day I realized we were playing Street Fighter and I was like, my arm's really hurting me. I don't know why. And then when we played golf again that night, I was like, it's this fucking game. It's this game. And I powered through because the game's so sick. This game, it's only like, what was it, £12, £15?
Yeah, something like that.
And now we never need to pay for mini golf again. Because it's just you can play mini golf in space. It's sick. I think it's one of the most fun experiences. I wouldn't say it's the best experience I've had in VR. It's one of the most fun. And it's a game that I would happily go back to every single night.
So yeah, what it is basically, audience, is that it is you're playing as a floating head with a putter, and you go onto these elaborate golf courses, some of which look like, you know, it's just like a normal kind of environment. But then you're in a haunted mansion, you're in space, you're in like ruins, you're in all these different places that are different courses for 18 rounds of golf. And that's it. And you just go out and do it. And it's really intuitive in terms of it's just exactly the same as playing mini golf. There's no difference whatsoever. But there's something about it that is just so charming. And even though the faces aren't animated, right? So like, you can't see someone's expression, but it's tracked, like their head's tracked. So when like Spence misses a shot, and you see his head just go, and like this, or like I missed a shot and I was like head in my hands, like on the floor, curled over, and you could just tell what's happening. And there's just something about it. It's just fucking hilarious. And the amount of times that we've had where I've been like, oh yeah, I'm about to nail this shot, and it just goes disastrously wrong because I'm not very good. And it goes everywhere else, and all you see is I'm just like blankly staring into the distance, and then just turn around. God, so much of that is so much fun. We got to put a big praise out for Lurian for this, because he was the one who definitely got my eye on it, and I don't know if that's what helped you purchase it, Spence, but my God, what a recommendation! Absolutely sublime game.
Just to caveat this as well, you might think, sure, once you've played every level, it might be a bit dull though. Lurian, thank you for this recommendation. That is how I knew about it as well. But you might think it get dull after you've played it once. There's lost balls you can find, which means you can use all kinds of different balls. We probably have about 70 now. so we can change which balls we use. Every course, if you find 10 lost balls or you get under par, unlocks a hard mode of that course. And on the hard mode, it's nighttime, mega pretty, really nice. And you can find these little riddles and puzzles. And if you solve them, you get a new putter. And if you hold directly up, you can teleport by flicking your stick forward and aiming somewhere. If you hold directly up, it lets you fly around. So you're just flying around being like, where's this fucking puzzle? Trying to figure it out with each other. It's like a puzzle game in mini golf. It's sick. And every 2 weeks, as far as I'm aware, they release DLC. A new course with a new hard mode, and it's £2. I think it's a bargain of a game. Endless fun. And I want to play it now. I want to play it right now.
I think you were saying before, Spence, that this is the kind of thing that would get someone into VR. Like this, the walkabout mini golf. That's something that we could show you, Phil, and you'd be like, oh yeah, do you know what, that's well fun. There's something about it. Do you still stand by that, Spence? I mean, you've played this more than I have.
I think it's definitely the game that could... It doesn't sound like it would make you want a VR. But the experience you have with this... There was one point where Davey said, all right, hole in one, this is it. Bang. Immediately flew off the map. And we were laughing, so I took my headset off because my screen was full of tears. I was crying, laughing. It was so funny. I had to take my headset off. It's just such a nice time. Just playing VR with the boys. Playing mini golf with the boys. In your comfort of your own home. Whenever you want. Not having to pay... Well, you do. You pay... It's £550. But once you have it, it's cheap. It's just, if you have it, it's really cheap.
Nice justification there, Spence. I've actually been getting into golf IRL at the moment, and £550, that would get me on my way to at least a driver and maybe some irons. So unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be picking this game up anytime soon, purely because I don't have a PSVR 2 system yet, but it does sound very, very entertaining, and I can see, because it is a party game, I'm assuming they're not bringing in like famous courses, they're not bringing in the Celtic Manor, or they're not bringing in like Augusta or something like that into the setup. It seems to be, I'm playing on the moon and things like that, so it's very much a party game if I'm picking that up correctly from what you guys have been saying. But it does sound like if you did bring it around my house, I think we'd have a lot of fun playing it together for sure.
Definitely. Well, following on from Spencer's VR escapades, I said in the last episode that I was going to dust off the VR, that I'd been too busy with YouTube work, been too busy with playing these other games, time to get to some VR. And so, as well as playing Walkabout VR, I've been playing Resident Evil 8 VR. And guys, let me tell you, what an incredible experience. So I've just finished House Beneviento, so I'm about halfway through the game. And my God, it has been something special. The biggest difference between VR and playing it on a standard 2D, the first thing you notice is scale. Everything just seems that much more intimidating, that much more scary. It's so immersive that you walk through environments that I know a scare's coming. I know something's around that next corner. I've played this game before. It doesn't matter. You're immediately in there. And it just grabs you by the balls and doesn't let go. It just rips you around and you're going for that roller coaster ride. And the wild thing about it is that it opens up ways to play rather than takes away. So you get the chance to dual wield. You can throw a knife, which you couldn't do in the base game. You can stab like a crazy madman. You can run and just be in full sprint, just running past, shooting somebody with your gun on the side like John Wick, and with a shotgun in the other hand. And you could just do that kind of stuff. And there's something just really, just mechanically incredible about running out of ammo and then having to just do a reload. And then all of a sudden, when there's enemies coming at you, you all of a sudden can't remember where your pouch is or where the pin is for this gun to pull it back because you're just in blind panic. And I didn't get that level of panic from the base game, and I felt that all throughout this. Let alone House Beneviento, which shook me to the core. I put this on Twitter, but I was screaming like a bitch when I was running through that entire area. I was terrified. Easily for me, one of the standouts on VR, 100%. I think for me, the best experience I've had so far is probably still Gran Turismo. I think that just... I'm not into sim racing. So to get me into sim racing is wild. For me, this is the best way to play Resident Evil 8, hands down. I think it's better in every single way from the SD version, from the TV version. It's better in every single way. And I think this is definitely a system seller. I think if you were to show somebody this and put them in this for like half hour, 45 minutes, that would be it. That would sell VR, like no questions asked. It's the full game. It's fantastic.
Davey, with Resident Evil now on VR, is there any kind of set pieces that really take the VR to a new level? Because I know Resident Evil, especially when they started doing the movies and they started bringing the 3D action in, they would almost set up set pieces where it would really show off the 3D part of that movie. I remember there was a big axe swing where the whole crowd would duck under it because they saw the axe coming out the screen. Is there any specific things that happen, I suppose, within the new version of Resident Evil VR that really take advantage of it and really show it off to its max?
Not so much in like a gimmicky way, no. It's really just a really well-made game with more control, and because you're immersed into it, the scale is so much bigger. So, right at the start when you get all the werewolves around you and you're waiting for the bell to kind of go off before they run away, well, that giant werewolf thing, when he jumps down, that guy that you fight near the end of the game with the giant axe, he's monstrous. Like, he's big in the normal game, but actually being there and looking up at him and him being like 12 foot tall is wild. It's so like, it's just so intimidating. And you never had that. Even with Lady D. Lady D, she's walking around, Lady Dimitrescu, and you're thinking, oh, Christ, look at that ass, right? And then next thing, it turns around, and you're like, Jesus Christ, she's a monster. She's huge. It's like this kind of thing that you don't get that level of immersion. There's like a separation there when you're playing it on a TV that you don't have in VR. And that's kind of the gimmick, really. I mean, the rest of it is just, it's all in the mechanics of how it controls, how it shoots, everything else. That would be the kind of thing that gets you into it, I suppose.
There is also a bit of a detriment to playing it in VR, though, isn't there?
There is.
Where you can kind of see where the developers cut corners. There's the one scene where you need to get up the elevator escaping from Lady Dimitrescu. And obviously, as you're in VR, the game is supposed to be at a set camera angle where you're looking at your hand pulling the lever. You can just turn your head and look left, and you will see her walking through a wall where they've cut a corner and she's supposed to be coming to get you. So there's that kind of thing where developers have cut a corner in the main game to try and get her in the right place to do the animation. In VR, you're a bit like, oh, that doesn't look like it should happen. But it's what they probably did to just cut a corner and just didn't think about it for VR.
Yeah, see, exactly right. Because you've got free reign of the camera, you can see things that you never normally can. So you can see a lot more kind of detail in that way. The only other downside, I guess, is that when it comes to like reading documents, that's a little bit harder in VR than it is in regular 2D screens, because you just can't quite get the the resolution totally bang on for that. So when you're looking at something really, really close, there's like a bit of blur on that compared to if you don't notice it when you're in the game, but if you're trying to read something, very much harder in VR than it is in SD. But in terms of an overall experience, 100% is I think we rated the game originally like a 9 out of 10, like high 9s. I think this would, if I played this for the first time through in VR, I'd be giving it a 10. It's a much better experience. Much better. I think it elevates it in every single way. So for me, it's at the very least it's a 9, because it is just the same game. But I think for the experience that it's providing me, I rate it as a perfect game. It's been superb, and I can't wait to dive in. It's been so good on VR. It really has. It's been revolutionary. So I'm looking forward to playing that again and diving more into it. Any thoughts on RE8 VR or any other questions you want to know before I move on to the final big game that I've been playing?
I was just going to ask one more, and I was going to say about the VR and the puzzles that Resident Evil is famous for, but RE8 didn't have a tremendous wealth of puzzles within the game. But I was just wondering if the VR elevated those in any way or hampered them.
Not so. I don't know if it's like being immersed into it as made me just shit at puzzles or not. I'm not sure. I'm definitely struggling a lot more with the puzzles than I was in the base game. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's a case that I'm kind of too distracted, that I can't really see the wood for the trees while I'm in there. I don't know what it is, but I am struggling a lot more with the puzzles. The cool thing about it is that all the like unlocks, the times you put in, like right at the start, one of the first puzzles you do is where you collect 2 different statue heads, like a demon and an angel, and you put them in and rotate them. And that's like the first kind of major puzzle, I suppose, that you see. And so with that, you go onto the door, you press X, and then it comes up with the list of items that you have. And then you physically go and grab them out, slot them in, and turn them yourself using your hands in game. And so you got that extra level of control which is added in. And it's the same with keys as well. Like you'll pick out a key, put it in, turn it in the lock. And so that's all really cool, little immersion. It doesn't really change too much, but it just doesn't break the immersion that you're in the game. And it's a nice little detail that Capcom have done there. The only wish for me is that RE7 would be put over to VR2. That's what I want. I think 7's better than 8. And so if I could play that game through and do like the Marguerite boss fight in VR, that's the kind of thing that would...
Jeez.
Yeah, I think I'd die. I think I'd have a heart attack. But I'd want to experience that. That'd be a great way to die. You know, to go in and do that. So
good way to go.
Right? It'd be amazing. It'd be absolutely amazing. So I'm hoping that one day Capcom decide they want to milk us a little bit and they put that patch out there for VR2, because I would fucking play that in a heartbeat. That would be insanely good. But hey ho, is what it is. The final game I've been playing, guys, and the one that we'll end this segment on, is a game that has been my most anticipated game of the year for quite a while. Just behind Street Fighter, I believe. And, well, it's Final Fantasy 16. So, guys, I am about 6 hours deep, so very early on in the grand scale of Final Fantasy. And it's been wild. It's been a roller coaster. So, about 3 hours of the game, or about two and a half maybe, is the same length as the demo that was released. And you know, everyone was saying about, this demo is life-changing, it's the best thing I've ever played, I'm so emotional, all this stuff. I played past that point and immediately understood exactly what everyone was talking about. They weren't fucking wrong. There's a moment on the end of that demo which is wild. It's the most anime shit I've seen in a video game. It's nuts. And it just doesn't end the way you think it would. And it's insane. The combat in it, at this point I'm in, is still quite basic. It's very much a case of I can see where it's building, but I'm still very much, even like 6 hours in like a tutorial almost, because they're just introducing new things all the time, and I feel like I haven't been set free to run yet. You know, I feel like I'm very much still in like kind of the training wheels part, where different enemy types are being thrown at me. I'm expected to master different moves in combat in terms of dodges, parries, basic attacks, magic, that kind of stuff, and using a party together. And that's all fine, that's all great. But I don't feel like you've ever got enough time to do these things. It's very much a case of cutscene, combat, cutscene, 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 combat, a little bit of walking, cutscene. It's very much like the story's really big on this. Like, really big. And there's a lot to take in. So, like, right, sit down, sit back, enjoy. And as somebody who's a fan of, like, Metal Gear Solid 4, I have got no problem with that. I've got no problem in the fact that out of the 6 hours, probably 4 hours of that have been cutscenes, I imagine. And I am along for the ride. And to be fair, it works. Like, I know the story, I'm following it really closely, I understand the characters' motivations, I understand why they're doing this, I understand the world, I understand the geopolitics, everything, which if they didn't have this and it was done in kind of background dialogue, would definitely slip to the wayside. It's a strange design choice, though, to have this many cutscenes that is, at times, you're thinking, Christ, this is getting a bit out of hand. But for whatever reason, it's holding me. And I can't wait to see where this builds, and by the next podcast, be able to hopefully confirm that the training wheels are off, that I'm given free reign to explore. And I wonder how many hours in that is before that happens. But I think for someone like yourself, Phil, this is a very different Final Fantasy from what I was always brought up on. It's totally different. I don't think there's anything really here that would tie it into Final Fantasy other than the fact that there's summons and magic and stuff. It's very different. I think for someone like yourself, you would really enjoy this because it's a really good story so far that's heartfelt. And you're giving me that look like that side eye, but some of the best games that you've ever experienced in terms of like the Metal Gear series is very similar to this. In terms of it being very much, it's about the story, the dialogue, the characters, and the gameplay is kind of secondary. Very similar to that. You know, even something like Death Stranding is a case of sit back and buckle in.
I bet it's like Portal, I bet it's like Resident Evil 2, and I bet it's like Death Stranding, isn't it, Davey? But I actually played the demo through. I actually streamed my first 2 hours playing the Final Fantasy demo, and I've got a 1-sound review for it.
Really? Wow.
Did not enjoy it at all. It didn't grasp me at all. I almost fell asleep playing it because, yes, there was so much story. I just wasn't invested at all in the game. I thought I'd give it a chance after, you know, the copious amounts of banter that I get off you guys for not, you know, trying out Final Fantasy. And I thought this would be a good time to dip in. It's a demo. Let's give it a go. But there was just nothing there for me, unfortunately. I think I need to go back and actually play Final Fantasy VII on my PS1. That's what I need to do if I'm going to get into this series. It's not play this new action-packed, full-on story game at all. It's not the right place for me to start personally.
Surprising. I thought that would really grab you, that demo. I would have put money on it, but maybe you're just being a hater. So, you know, just put it out there.
It's very unlike me, mate.
Yeah, that's not on brand. That's not on brand. Now, Spence, you played this demo. You didn't get on with it either, from what I understand.
Phil, mate, completely agree. It's just, right, with Final Fantasy VII, it at least starts with gameplay, you getting into the Mako Center, massive gaming section, and then it kicks into story. Whereas FF16 is you walk on grass for maybe about 20 seconds, and then it's an hour and a half of cutscenes. And it's like, bruv, mate, just at least let me get interested in the game before kicking me into the story. It doesn't give you time. It's like, oh, I hope you like story because that's all you're bloody getting. You don't get a chance to see if you like the game. Imagine 6 hours of cutscenes just to find out you hate the gameplay and it's gash and you're invested at that point. So you have to sludge through the gameplay just for this story. And I mean, I'm sure we've all done that in the past with games, or vice versa, where you play a horrible story because the gameplay's great. But this game doesn't even let you have a chance to find out. And it's not, I mean, it's fine. It's fine. But I watched about an hour of cutscenes to feel like the combat was gash. So I didn't play further than that. Literally your first combat section, I was like, nah, not for me. I'm done. I'll wait for FF7 Remake Part 2. I'm good. I'm not playing FF16.
It did seem like a strange section of the game to give you as the demo. Like, I understand that they want you to play the first part of it and then buy the game and you can continue playing it. But for someone like me, someone like Spence, playing this game, as you said, we were just stuck in limbo listening to a story we didn't care about, and then we got to kill a few goblins. Cool game.
Yeah, to be fair, I can totally understand that viewpoint for both of you, because it's a lot. It's a lot, right? It really is. I suppose I'll have to let you know how it opens up and at what point it does. You know, if we're talking like 10 hours in and I'm still feeling like training wheels are on, I mean, will I play it through? Yes, because I'm really enjoying it. And I'm enjoying the combat and I'm enjoying the characters and stuff. So it's got me hook, line, and sinker. But I can see why it would be divisive for people that definitely aren't into that kind of style of game. But wait and see. I've heard it on good authority that it's superb. So we'll wait and see where it goes, and I'll let you know on the next episode. But guys, with that brings what we've been playing to a close. Let's move it on to the quick news. Quick news.
Yes, that's right. We are at the quick news, and it's chance for you guys to show off your impression skills once again as we trundle through all the different quick news that's come out over the last 2 weeks. And we've got a jam-packed section here full of news to go through. And this week, we are going to be doing cartoon characters, okay, guys? So I want to hear your best Scooby-Doo. I want to hear your best Fred Flintstone. I want to hear your best Donald Duck. It might be from the past, but we can do it once more. And Davey, I'm going to come over to you first, and I want your best Peter Griffin, please.
All right. I don't watch much Family Guy, so I'll put that out there straight away, but I'll give it a go. Quick news. Mortal Kombat 1, as we know, is on the horizon, and the first combat pack has been formally announced. It turns out the rumours were very much true. And for that, well, it's pretty wild. You've got Homelander from The Boys, Omni-Man from Invincible, Peacemaker from obviously the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker series, DC character, Quan Chi, Ermac, and Takeda. I'm probably butchering that. I don't really know that character that well. But that is our announcement, which came with a really awesome little trailer which showed everyone off. They look absolutely fantastic. Now, it's not just that, guys. Rumors have already begun on Combat Pack 2. And I gotta say, judging by the fact that this was totally bang on the money, this is pretty much confirmed as far as I'm concerned. These fighters are Doomslayer, Noob Saibot, Kano, Serena, Harley Quinn, and Deathstroke. So a good chunk of DC characters in there, alongside the fucking Doomslayer himself, boys. Oh my god, super, super hype. Guys, what do you think about these guest announcements when it comes to MK1? Excited, or is this a hard pass? Phil, I'm going to come across to you first.
For me, Davey, I think this is really interesting, actually. I'm really liking the return of a lot of the DC characters because, like yourself, I was heavily invested into the Injustice series. So it's quite nice to see Harley Quinn and sort of Deathstroke returning. I'll be definitely picking up the pack 2 if we get into a little bit of this. But I'm really hopeful for the story. Hopefully we get a little bit of story with these new characters that come into the series as well, because that's where this really excels for me, is the story part of it. I don't think I'm going to be wanting to get into the competitive stuff. As we've talked about multiple times in this podcast, it's too hard to juggle 3, 4, 5 different, because we've got another fighting game which I'm going to talk about. It's not releasing anytime soon, but there's so much going on in the FGC at the moment. But for this one, I'd like to just play it single player, enjoy the story, and then just enjoy some of these characters. But for me, Harley Quinn, Deathstroke, they'd be top of my list.
Wow, nice. What about yourself, Spence? Does the announcements for Fighter Pack 1 and then the rumours for Fighter Pack 2 get your juices flowing?
Mate, I said last time, and I'll repeat it again, it pisses me off because I am so balls deep in Street Fighter, and now I have to get Mortal Kombat. I have to, because my favourite comic of all time, it used to be Spider-Man. I got a Spider-Man tattoo, but then I read Invincible, and Invincible is so sick. It is bar none my favourite comic of all time. It is goated. Fantastic show. I just watched the Atom Eve special episode they put up the other day. Fantastic as well. And now they're adding the boy, the man, Omni-Man, to Mortal Kombat. He's got to be so busted. It's going to be sick. And then I'm also a fan of Peacemaker as well, and The Boys. The Boys, I think, is the best TV show ever made. So, Homelander and Omni-Man and Peacemaker. I'm already playing Starlight in Call of Duty. Homelander in Mortal Kombat. Double duo, mate. That's the trouble couple. It'd be fantastic. But I'd probably settle on Omni-Man. And like I said, it's pissed me off because now I'm going to have to play it. And you know me. I like the women. Harley Quinn coming in. Come on. Come on. Stupid game. What a stupid, absolutely stupid announcement. I'm fuming. I'm livid. I hope the game's cash. I sincerely hope the game's cash so I don't have to get into this, but it's not going to be. And I'm going to be buying both fighters passes. I'm fuming. Absolutely fuming.
For me, that fuming feeling that you're having, I am on the opposite end, where I knew this was going to be great, right? Because Mortal Kombat don't miss with the DLC. They really don't. You know, for Injustice, you get the Turtles thrown in. You get a load of different DC characters, which just like either deep cuts or super, super hype. Like you get a load of Teen Titans in the mix. For Mortal Kombat last one, for Mortal Kombat 11, we had the Terminator, RoboCop, you got Rambo, you got all these like crazy like 80s heroes in it. And in Mortal Kombat 10, you had Alien, Predator, Freddy in there, you had Jason, you had like all these horror people. So with this one, it's like, well, gloves are off, we can just have whatever. And for me, Doomslayer is just insane. Like, I've always wanted Doomslayer in Smash, and it just ain't gonna happen. But getting him in Mortal Kombat is a perfect fit, and be able to use that Doomslayer sword alongside a super shotgun, count me in. I cannot fucking wait. If that turns out to be true, that will be the hypest character for me at the moment. Otherwise, I'm diving in there straight away with my boy Homelander. I'm chucking out some laser eyes, and we're just going to be zoning people to death. It's going to be Superman from Injustice 1 all over again, and I'm all about it. Well done, Ed Boon. Well done, the team at NetherRealm. Super hype announcements. Can't wait to see more as the months and years, hopefully, go by on this game. Now, Spencer, chucking it over to yourself. Cartoon characters. There's lots of ways we could go about this, but I think I'll give you a nice, easy one to start with, and I think it's one that we haven't done on the show before. I want to hear Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Shaggy, the strongest character in fiction.
Yes, yeah, Super Saiyan Shaggy.
Yeah, Super Saiyan Shaggy, 1% of his power. Right, all I know, I used to watch loads of Scooby-Doo. I had a VHS of that movie with the sexy goth girls. You know that one? Sick film, by the way. Sick film. That was my awakening, that movie. What a time. But all I remember him saying in probably every single episode and movie is just, "Oh, zoink, Scoob." And that was it. That's what he'd always say. And he'd be munching on his Scooby snacks. All right, quick news. So, lads, we've had a bit of a confirmation. Obviously, they showed off Spider-Man 2 recently. And we saw the pre-orders go live for the collector's edition, which all of us luckily got in.
We did.
Sniped one for ourselves. Lovely. Like 250 quid, all three of us. That's insane money right there, but we all did it. And I think we're all quite happy with our purchase, even if we don't know where that Venom's going to go. But if we wanted to spend a bit more money on this IP, we can, because they've also shown off a brand new Spider-Man 2 PS5 and handset, which you can also buy the plates or the handset separately. Now, I don't know if you boys have seen this. I mean, there's a picture in the doc, so I imagine you have. But have you boys, and how do you think it looks? Davey, across to you.
I'm super hyped by both of these. Absolutely love the design. I've seen the internet be kind of split down the middle, where some people are preferring their renders that they've done. But for me, I think having the plates where it's the symbiote overtaking the classic costume looks so dope. And the same thing on the controller as well. I don't need the controller, but my god, it's a very pretty looking controller. And it's making it hard to say no, I'll tell you that for damn sure. I am over the moon with these. I think they look incredible.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. Phil, mate, how about you?
I'm the same. These look stunning. They're definitely going to go on my wish list. Not the plates themselves or buying a PlayStation 5 again. I already own one. I do have it on the horizontal setup. So unfortunately, it's hidden away. So we're not going to be able to see any of those plates, even if I did buy them. But the handset itself, as Davey said, is very, very pretty and it is tempting me into another handset. As Davey said, does he need one? Do I need one? I already own two. Well, maybe, possibly I do need this one because you're right, it's beautiful. It really is.
Fair enough, boys. Fair enough. Both of you in agreement. Well, let me be the outlier. I think these look terrible. Actually, I actually hate the look of these.
No way. A proper Spider-Man fan saying you hate this stuff.
Yeah, I don't like that the spider logo is tucked away in the bottom corner. I wish it was kind of in the middle, like it was if it was on his chest and it was being devoured by all around. If they were to do that design, same as I don't like on the controller, it's taken over all the way across. There's just like a hint of red. I wish there was more of a mix of the two, or it was just more actual. I'm not a massive Venom guy. I'm really not a massive fan of Venom, which I'm sure is quite surprising. I watched Venom Carnage the other night. Fucking made me less of a fan of Venom. So it's
terrible film. Terrible
Shocker.
film. I love
Dog
Venom
shit.
and I hated both those films.
Yeah,
terrible.
I liked the first one. I actually liked the first one. I thought it was quite funny. I didn't think it was a good film, but I thought it was funny. But this design, I don't know. There's just something about it I don't like. Maybe if, like, I don't know. I don't know how to say it. I wish Miles was incorporated somehow in the design. Like maybe one of the plates had Miles on it, the other one was being taken over by Venom. Or the handset had a bit of Miles, maybe a bit of electricity going through the Venom or something. But I wish Miles was incorporated because you play as both. They're both Spider-Man now. And this is just all about Peter, which he is obviously the main one. But times are changing. Spider-Verse exists. Might not be the main one for long. I think, I don't like it. I wish they did maybe more. Maybe a Peter handset, a Venom handset, and a Miles handset, because people would buy all three.
Don't put it past Sony, mate. Don't put it past. I think it's only a matter of time before we get even more of these kind of things. And if these do, sell out or they start flying off shelves, why the hell not? In a couple of years when they do a Game of the Year edition incorporating all the DLC, just chuck a different pad out. Chuck a different plate out. People will want it. So, like you say, it's money on the table, right? But I'm really surprised in that, Spence. I thought if any of us were going to love it, I thought it would be you, hands down. I thought you're the one who's got it in a vertical position, your PlayStation. So you're a prime candidate for having a plate. And so to see none of us on the podcast going to go away with plates yet again on another round of these, I wonder what the game is that's going to be that I can't say no, and you have to get the plate for it. Because I thought it was going to be this, but I'm very much the same as Phil. In a lying down fashion, how often do I actually look at the full majesty of the PlayStation 5? Not that often. So it really isn't worth it for me either. But the handset got me thinking. It's got me acting up, baby.
I mean, you also got to think I've just spent £200 on a DualSense Edge. I don't need another controller. Definitely not. If that DualSense Edge had a Spider-Man design, maybe I'd be like, fuck yeah. But I'm not using it to play Spider-Man. There's no point. But I will say this does lead on to more news. San Diego Comic-Con just happened, and there they revealed a Spider-Man 2 story trailer, which apparently showed off Venom a bit more and put Twitter on fire. Now, I myself haven't seen this trailer. I've seen images. It's impossible to ignore on Twitter. I've seen everything. I may as well have seen the trailer. But I haven't. You boys, have you seen it? And if you have, has this increased your hype? What do you think? Phil, I'll come across to you first this time.
I could not watch it. Not only because I actually compiled some of this doc and actually put it in there, but I did actually see this trailer early days when it came out. And I just love it, mate. I want to consume everything that's going on with this game at the moment. I cannot get enough. I'm lapping it up like a dog. I just want more. If they started posting more today, I'd go and watch it. I cannot stop myself when it's there, mate. I just go for it, okay? The video itself is going the way that maybe we thought it was on some of the previous discussions we had. And I wouldn't say the Venom part was that big, other than you do actually see Venom sort of at the end of the trailer as well. But it doesn't really give away too much, I didn't think. So it's not a spoiler trailer in any way. So don't be worried if you do catch a glimpse of that trailer, Spencer.
That's all right, mate. I'm not too worried. I've seen most of it. I'm just trying to steer clear. You know my view on trailers. I've said it in the past. But Davey, have you seen this? What were your thoughts?
I have, very much like Phil, like a thirsty hound, mate. I was there. I was loving it, bro. I was all about the trailer. I thought it was amazing. I really, really enjoyed it. Seeing characters, seeing Mary Jane and seeing her render on this and what they've done with her look great. Seeing some of the emotional beats that were emanating throughout that story trailer just really got me. I mean, for me, you can't really increase my hype on this. If anything, anything I'd see would lessen my hype, right? I don't think I can get more excited for this. So I didn't feel any differently seeing it than I did prior because I'm already sold. I'm already day one. As you guys have said already, collector's edition's already pre-ordered. I've already put down the big heavy-duty cash on this. So I'm committed regardless. So I could do without seeing any more now at this point. But will I watch everything? Yes. Yes, I will. I really will.
It's fair enough, mate. Fair enough. I mean, I haven't seen it. There is one thing I'd like to discuss about it, though. And that's every single character kind of has a new look. And I think Peter looks fantastic. I think Miles looks fantastic. I think MJ looks way worse. I think she's had a massive downgrade, and I just wanted to bring that up to you boys.
What? It's the same. It's the same face model. Everything's the same. It's just that her hair's down this time. So you like your gingers with their hair up. You don't like it down. Gets in the way.
Her face doesn't look the same. I've seen side by sides. Her face really doesn't look the same. I think she looks way worse. I'm not sure what it is. It might just be me. It
Doesn't
might be
watch the trailer, but he does side by sides of Mary Jane.
Just jacking it to that picture. He is just flick in between old and new.
We caught you.
That's where it goes. I confessed, mate. Confessed my crimes. But aside from that, there's one other tiny little bit of news. So we do have a potential leak, which is Todd McFarlane, apparently during an interview, has just mentioned about how amazing it is to play as Venom. And everyone's like, Spider-Man, you play as Venom? What? And we might. I don't think we will, personally. But this is a rumor. People have kind of been asking for it for a long time. Just to wrap up this kind of little bit of news, lads, what do you think? Do you think Venom will be playable in this game? Davey, over to you.
No, I don't. I think that what Todd's referencing about throwing a tank and all this stuff, we did all that in Ultimate Spider-Man, right? And that was a great game on PS2, absolutely phenomenal game. Why would you put him in this? Unless it's like some separate mode that you can unlock or some like kind of side content stuff that isn't like related to the main game in whatsoever, maybe in there, right? Like some kind of just like cause some carnage multiplayer little bollocks, little feature they put in just because one of the devs thought they'd make it on a Sunday when they were bored. Maybe something like that. I cannot see it being a case in the story. It's already jammed enough when you've got Miles and Peter in the mix. Why would you then have Venom in there? And I don't know why you'd want to add him in as playable, because the thing is, you want like a villain. You want someone that's like mysterious that comes out of nowhere that your spider sense can't detect. I don't want to be playing around, swinging around to Aunt May's house to look through the fucking window at Spider-Man. I don't want to do that. I want him to be just a threat that I don't have any control over. I don't want to feel that kind of way about that character. I don't want that, personally. I don't think it's going to be true at all. But don't know about yourself, though, Phil.
I'm completely the other side of this coin. I really want to play as Venom. And it's not because of this rumor. I just want to play as the character. I feel like every time Venom is in a video game, take Spider-Man, Maximum Carnage, as soon as you get to play Venom, you definitely choose Venom. Or I did as a kid growing up. So if I get the opportunity to roll around, we are Venom, smashing some cars and shooting some webs, 100% I would want to play them in the next Spider-Man game. And it kind of makes sense, I believe, because Venom, he's an anti-hero. So we're going to get the bit of the arc, I believe, in this one, where he's going to be a little bit bad, he's going to fuck some shit up, and then he's going to come good towards the end. And I could see a part of the game, a small section, where you do get to control Venom. And then I think afterwards, you finish the story, you do then have the option to switch between Venom, Miles, and Peter to explore the open world of Manhattan. That's my prediction with it anyway.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think maybe he was referencing being Peter with Venom, or maybe he was referencing Ultimate Spider-Man, or who knows, could be anything. But I'm kind of leaning towards Davey, whereas the game's packed, man. There is so much. We've got a mystery villain already, which I think everyone thinks is Yuri. We've got Kraven, we've got Venom, we've got everything. I don't think we need to play as Venom as well. But that's quite a lot of Spider-Man news. I think it's time we move over to something else. So, Phil, I'm swinging it, just like Spider-Man, back round to yourself. And I would love to hear, tell you what, your best Optimus Prime.
My best Optimus Prime. Autobots, roll out! Quick news. Okay, guys, right. I've got some news for you, and this all surrounds the PS5 Pro. I've got some details, so I'm going to run down the list, and then we're going to ask you which ones of those stand out to you, because I think there's a particular one that you guys scoffed at me when I made this prediction months ago on the podcast, and it looks as if it's coming true, but we'll see. We've got PS5 Pro details. We've got the code name, Project Trinity, so that's how it's been referred. Some of these stats, I'm not sure what the acronyms mean, so I'll just read them verbatim. So we've got 30 WGP. We've got 1800 MTS memory. It's consistent 4K 60 FPS. We have a new performance mode of 8K. Then we have accelerated ray tracing, well advanced in development. It's in development since early 2022. Demos are already ongoing. Studio reveals dev kits out in November 2023, and we're going to be aiming for a launch in November 2024. So right around my birthday. Perfect gift, that one. The last major hardware before PS6, pretty obvious, and the PS6 we're targeting for 2028. Obviously, there's a lot of wild speculations within this tweet, and the source we've got it from isn't the most reliable, but I think you can take a little bit of this with a pinch of salt, and hopefully some of this will come true. So I'm going to pass it over to you first, Spence. Which ones of these sort of stick out to you, and do you believe these?
I'll tell you what, the ones that stick out to me, namely, is the consistent 4K 60. I think is very nice. Especially for some games, because we have some games now that even in performance mode aren't 4K, or say Returnal, I don't think was ever 4K. It was 1440p. So seeing games like that make a jump to 4K 60 would be absolutely insane, would be beautiful, especially Returnal. Demon Souls as well, what a stunning game. Just so many games that if they were constant 4K 60, it would be butter. Absolute butter. But then there's other things on this list, namely that's the positive. 8K. No. And if it is 8K, I'm not playing in 8K because I am not buying an 8K TV. Good luck with that. And it's not going to affect your PSVR 2 anyway, because PSVR 2 is a 1440p screen, or two 1440p screens. So it's kind of 4K 60 is what I want out of this. Everything else is what is what is. I'd like to see more storage on the system. That's what I'd like. Maybe 1.5 gigs. And then I'll buy one.
How about yourself, Davey? Is there anything on that list that sort of stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, Spence already mentioned the consistent 4K 60. I think that's a given. I think it has to be able to deliver that. I think that's a cert. For me, the big thing is accelerated ray tracing. Now, ray tracing that we get on consoles is good, and different devs are able to work wonders with it. You look at like Dead Space, and its ray tracing implementation is superb. Some of the early games that we had, like Ratchet and Clank, does ray tracing so goddamn well. It's fantastic. However, the upper echelon, when someone's got like a 4090, stuff like that, the ray tracing you can get is wild. It's so cool, so nice, and that's what I love. So be able to see that and have better ray tracing, consistent 4K 60, I think that's realistic. Like Spence said, new performance mode for 8K, fuck off, no chance. I also don't think the 2024 release date is likely at all. I don't think so. No way. If you're talking about PS6 targeting 2028. I think that's realistic. And the judge certainly was giving that away in the Activision case, saying that it was going to be that they were both looking to launch around 2028, right? That's when they were positioning. I think 2025 you launch a PS5 Pro, and you got 3 years of it. That's kind of the same lifespan that the PS4 Pro had. With God of War 2018 was when the PlayStation Pro came out, was that year, and then you had what, like 2 years and a bit before the PS5. So I think that's ample time. I don't see why they'd bother, especially when the rumors keep on hyping up around other hardware that's going to come out later on this year. I don't see that at all next year. I really don't. But who knows? I mean, what do you think? What do you think about all this, Phil?
Well, as I said at the start of this, a lot of this you've got to take with a pinch of salt. So I think it's a bit of a wish list more than anything. Some of it probably is going to come true. For me, I really want the 8K. This was something we spoke about previously, and I'm the guy that would want to go to 8K with this, right? So I would buy the setup, I would buy the TV to be able to produce or show off the 8K of this new system, and I would buy the games to be able to play those. I know it's only going to be a small section of people that would get to enjoy it on that level, but I would be one of those people that would want to go to 8K if it's possible and really, really push it to its extremes, really. And of course, I want to prove you guys wrong. So you've doubted me all the way with 8K, so I would do it to spite you. That's the type of guy I am. Anyway, moving it on. Davey, I'm going to come round to you this time. And what I want from you is Eric Cartman as your impression.
Eric Cartman? Okay, I could do that. Fuck you guys, I'm going home. Or we could do another one. I'll give you a double dip. Well, Cosmos bitch, the big fat bitch, the biggest fish in the whole world. The biggest fish of all girls and girls. And Monday's a bitch and Tuesday's a bitch and Wednesday's a bitch. She's a bitch. Right, sorry. Quick news. I got a double whammer for you guys. Again, just like the impression, we got double news for this. So the first up, I just want to put out a big well done to PlayStation itself. The PlayStation 5 has surpassed 40 million in sales. Absolutely phenomenal. Outselling everything else, like in terms of the Xbox, by 2-1. Really, really impressive. Let's keep it going. I mean, we're getting to the holiday season. We got Spidey around the corner. Helldivers 2, baby. We got some big games coming out this year. Let's see if we can hit 50 million by the end of the year. More than likely going to happen. Really well done. But the bigger news, if you've been on the sidelines and you haven't picked up a PlayStation 5, well, it might be best to look after that money in that piggy bank just for a little bit longer, because the rumor is that we're getting a price drop. Now, of course, as you remember when inflation was running out the wazoo, which it still is right now, I should add, prices did increase for most territories. Well, it looks like across most of the major territories, it is going to drop down. So the rumor is it's going to have a $50 price reduction in the US, which takes it down to $449 instead of $499. For the UK, getting a £75 decrease, taking it to $404.99 instead of $479.99. And Europe, €75 down, taking it down to €474 instead of $549. Now, we don't know if this includes the digital edition. And the rumors are that it could be in preparation for the Slim, which is rumored to be coming out later on this year. So we'll have a little look. The PS5 Slim in this same rumor is looking to be priced apparently at €399 or £379.99. Now, the big standout for me in this, guys, before I chuck it over for any thoughts on any of this at all, is that for me, it's a pretty big price difference, right? If you look at the euros, they're saying it's going to be £404.99 compared to €474. That doesn't seem right to me. I don't know. That math doesn't seem right at all, especially when you compare then the PS5 Slim pricing at €399 or €379. So I think there's something off with these. I think the bigger news to take from this is that price reductions are incoming. I'd totally ignore the dollar and pound amounts on this one, because I don't think somebody knows the price difference between euros and pounds, because it certainly ain't that kind of a big jump. That's for damn sure. Phil, any thoughts on this at all?
Yeah, I was quite surprised when I read this in the doc and I was going through some of the details here, because it only seems like yesterday where we were like complaining, or we were hearing people complain that they couldn't get PS5s, and now we're seeing a price reduction. That feels a little bit crazy to me, but I do understand, obviously, we are now getting different variants of the PS5 coming out. We're talking about the Slim, we're talking about the Pro, all these different PS5s coming out into the world. Of course, they've got to reduce the price of the base model just to get those sales out. But yeah, it does confuse me slightly, because I don't know what it's like to buy a PS5 at the moment. Do you guys know? Have you guys seen them out in the wild that often these days?
Mate, yeah, I think they're everywhere now. There's not really a struggle at all. You can get them online, piece of piss. You can pop in the game now. Pop in, but excuse me, can I get a PS5? It's like, of course, mate. Yeah, we got 10. Yeah, fine. What version do you want? Do you want a new PS5 plate with Spider-Man? No. No, white one, please, mate. White one, please. Yeah. Sound. Yeah, mate,
It's going
easy.
behind the TV.
Yeah.
It's ugly as sin, mate. Get it hidden. But yeah, no, I didn't know, but it just goes to show how much actually I go out to the shops these days. But yeah, I didn't know if it was as freely available. But yeah, no, it completely makes sense to reduce the price just to get those sales going.
Anything to add, Spence?
Yeah, I think 40 million sales for one. Sick. So sick. I mean, it's a great time to be part of the PlayStation Nation, I think, and we're just growing bigger every other day. I'll tell you what, I think Street Fighter might have helped with quite a lot of sales. I think a lot of fighting game players might have got a PS5. Tell you what, it's just my 2 cents. But then with these price drops, I don't know if I even believe them. I don't think I believe them at all. I mean, if the price does drop, I've got a PS5. I'm not buying a new one. So, it is what it is. I don't think these are going to drop. And if they do drop, like you said, these are not the prices. Not a chance in hell. Absolutely no way. £404 for a PS5 physical edition, when if it doesn't know if it's changing the price of the digital. So the price difference of the digital and physical is going to be like what? 30 quid? Or something like that?
50 quid difference, isn't it?
50
it was
quid.
Always 50 quid, I think, back in the day.
It used to be 100 quid, didn't it?
Did it? I'm trying to think when we bought ours. It's been so long, having it since launch.
It's 450 quid when we bought ours.
Oh, let's take it to Google, baby. I don't have a fucking clue. Nothing else to do, so let's all ask Google.
450 physical, 360 digital. So it's like a 45 quid price difference.
So I suppose we'll have to wait and see if that carries across to the digital version or not. We'll wait and see. So with that, let's move the show onwards. Spencer, I'm going to come back across to you. And I'm thinking, all the famous characters that we could go for. We've done lots in the past. Are we including anime in this? Because that is a cartoon.
Oh, you'd be stretching it. I was going more classic cartoon characters.
It depends, because there's a connect with like Pokemon is a cartoon, but it's an anime. I'd say Dragon Ball Z is technically both as well. If they air over here, I'd say they're a cartoon.
Okay, all right. So, because I was thinking about going for a Dragon Ball character. So I was thinking of throwing you someone that you do know, and throwing you, let's go quite easy. Let's go for a nice Piccolo.
All I know is that start of the whole Raditz bit, Goku's gripped up Raditz. He's holding him like this, and he's like, just fucking do it, Piccolo. Piccolo's like this. Special beam gunner. Hit my mic. Oops. And then give you an extra one. Goku's like,
Those physical
bit of a
impression.
double whammy for
Nice
you.
physical impression for you audience.
Sorry, listeners. One's not for you, but for the watchers, that's exactly what. Put me next to Goku. Same bloke. Tell you what, just not the Goku from the movie, please. Quick news. So, lads and listeners, move my mic back. So, lads, listeners, watchers, it is your monthly Spencer Quick News, which means I am going to be talking to you about the brand new games coming to PS Plus. This time is the Essentials list, so we only have 3 games coming, but I'm going to list them off and ask you boys what you think. So the 3 games we have: PGA Tour 2K23, which is for PS4, PS5. We have the long-awaited, long-sought-after milestone game, Dreams, for the PS4. And we have for the PS4 and PS5, Death's Door, which is kind of like a cute little Dark Souls 2D. It's really nice. So, boys, out of these 3 games, are you going to be downloading any of them? Which ones are you looking forward to? Let me know. Open floor this time.
Yeah, I will be. Of course. I mean, this goes without saying, listeners. Every single month, even if you have no plans on playing the games, always add them to your library. Because why not have free games as long as you're subscribed to the service? Why the hell not? You've got them forever as long as you've got PlayStation Plus. PlayStation Plus Essential, that is. I think for me, just because I shit on it every single podcast, I'm going to check out Dreams. I really will. I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to fire it up. And what I'm going to play in there is that Motorstorm demo that we were hyping up a little while ago on the podcast. And that is going to be pretty much all I do, I think. I'm going to go in there. I'm not going to create shit. I'm not wasting my time in some dead-ass game. But I will check out what people have spent hundreds of hours doing and creating. and I'll see what it's like. See if it actually plays really well. See if I can find some little gems in there. Who knows? It may be something that I think, wow, Media Molecule really outdid themselves with these creation tools, but I highly doubt it. I imagine I'll come out of it and think, wow, these poor people that have invested so much time into this dead ecosystem that can't make a single penny off the sheer amount of effort that they've put in creating this, just for me to go in and then shit on it on a podcast episode on episode 73. But we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. But that's the one that caught my eyes and thought, yeah, do you know what, I'm going to give it a go.
Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. We love a bit of shitting on dreams. Absolutely love it. Phil, mate, what about you? You dipping into any of these free games?
On the whole, because really a PGA game. I mean, I have been getting into golf, as I mentioned at the top of the show. I have been playing a little bit. So I wouldn't mind actually downloading that. I haven't played a golf game in absolute time. I think the last one I probably played was maybe on the Mega Drive at some stage. So it has been bare time since I played an actual golf game. So I'd be interested to see where that's progressed. And I think out of the trio here, I'd be the one to actually jump into maybe a sports game. As much as you're enjoying the VR party golf, I think the realistic golf might be a step too far for you guys. So I might plunge in and give that a go. But Dreams definitely is a miss for me. I'm not interested in creating my own levels. Unless, of course, Davey, you're going to come on the next podcast. You're going to tell me there's some brilliant, generated levels that I need to check out. Maybe it's nice to have the option there. Death's Door, you've already said it. It's a Souls game. It's not for me.
I mean, yeah, mate, that's fair enough. It's a bit wild, this, as we're all taking a game each. Because for me, I'm not interested in PGA. I'm not interested in Dreams. I definitely am not interested in Dreams. But I think this month is sick. And that's because I've been toying with buying Death's Door since it came out. I've really wanted this game for ages, absolutely ages, months. And I've just never actually pulled the trigger and bought the game. And now I'm getting it for free. It's going to be the next game I play, 100% when it comes out. And I'm just well keen. It's like a top-down, or kind of top-down, like a Zelda-esque, old Zelda. But you play as like a crow with a sword. And it's supposed to be really difficult. Kind of like a Titan Souls-esque kind of Dark Souls 2D, 2.5D, whatever, but it's supposed to be absolutely fantastic. And I'm super keen to check it out. So the other games, yeah, fuck off. But great month. Fantastic month. Yeah. Cheers, PlayStation. Yeah, love it. But lads, that is not where this section ends. Because what PlayStation gives with the one hand, they take with the other. And we have some games leaving the PlayStation Extra service. Those games are as follows: Borderlands 3, Nidhogg, DCL the game, Yakuza Kiwami, Yakuza Kiwami 2, Yakuza 0, Grip, The Crew 2, 8-Bit Armies, and Carmageddon Max Damage. A lot of car games there at the end. But yeah, those games are all leaving the service. You might think when. These games are going to be leaving August 15th, 2023. So if you were going to play Yakuza, because I feel like they only just added the Yakuza games.
I think it was a good few months ago, but it feels like as if it's burned in as quite recent, but I think it was probably about 4 or 5 months ago at the very least. It was quite a while back, but they've been just chucking out so many Yakuza games, haven't they, onto this service. So these are a few.
Loads, yeah.
There's still stacks on there. So, if you haven't played them, I mean, you're going to miss these, but, you've got probably like 15 fucking Yakuza games to sink your teeth into before then. So, I think you could still get your fill.
It's true. But yeah, I think it is what it is. These games leaving, I don't think any of them are big names. It's not exactly a detriment. It's not a reason to unsubscribe from the service. So I don't think we need to talk about this too much. It's fine. Just play your games. If you are keen on any of these games, listeners or lads, just play them before August 15th and you're good to go. Not too much time, really, like half a month. But you don't get a game done then. Crack on. Nidhogg. Oh, lovely. Beautiful. But yeah, that is it. What I'm going to do now, lads, I'm going to swing it round the other way. The dodgy circle comes back. So, Davey, I'm coming along to you. And I'm going to give you the impression I was going to give Phil. So, Phil, you might be grateful when you hear this. I would like to hear your best impression of Squidward.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't have known that.
Okay. Right. I'm really going to go. I'm going to try. Hey, SpongeBob. SpongeBob. Can't think of what he says. But there you go. I got the voice. And I said SpongeBob. There you go. What more do you want? Quick news. Insomniac. We know they've been busy bees. They are a busy old studio. They've been carrying the PlayStation 5 ever since its launch, with the likes of Spider-Man remastered, with the likes of Ratchet and Clank, and now with Spider-Man 2 on the horizon, and Wolverine. But turns out they're not done there. They say, hold my fucking beer, because we got another game, AAA title in development, and the rumors are it's a multiplayer-centric game. Guys, what do you reckon it could be? Throw in an idea out there. Do you think it's a new IP, or do you think it's a return of one very special franchise? What are your thoughts, guys? Is it going to be Resistance or not? Put me out of my fucking misery.
I think, Insomniac aren't one to make new IP anymore, if you know what I mean. They might make a new game, but typically it's an existing IP. So I actually really think this is the return of Resistance. If this AAA game is the rumored multiplayer game, because it could be something separate altogether, but then Insomniac's working on quite a bit too much, so it probably is the multiplayer game. And if it is, I'd put some money on it being Resistance. I don't think they're a very creative bunch when it comes to IP, but I think they can take an existing IP and make it something brilliant. And if they do that again with Resistance, then oh baby, what a time! Cambran's gone. That's my 2 pence, mate.
Oh, mate.
It's gone. Yeah, it never existed, mate. You'd wipe out the history of Cambran.
Oh, it'd be off. It'd be off the map. It'd be Oppenheimer all over again.
Oppenheimer 2, baby.
Oppenheimer 2 Resistance. Phil, what do you reckon? Please say you agree.
I'd love to agree. I really would. If they were going to bring out a Resistance multiplayer that we could all dive into, I think we'd have a lot of fun. But the IP that I think they're going to go back to, and we've seen a lot of this IP over the years that Insomniac have been developing games, I think they might dip into Ratchet and Clank for this, because it's a really strong IP. They know it inside out. As I said, they've developed many games based on Ratchet and Clank, but they've all been story-based. This might be the chance to broaden it out and bring it into that kind of arena multiplayer shooter vibe. I know they've been hiring creative directors, systems designers, story leads, art directors, VFX artists. So they're expanding the team. So this might be a good opportunity now to use an IP that's already got a big following and capitalize on it with a new kind of area of gameplay that Insomniac aren't known for.
Yeah, do you know what? I could see if it's not going to be Resistance, I reckon it's going to be definitely a new kind of IP. I don't, as much as Ratchet and Clank would kind of make sense, I don't know. I think if they're going to do it, they're going to go one of two ways. Either lean on something like Resistance that has that multiplayer kind of heritage. Well, maybe that's just me talking here, like more for just hopes and dreams. But if not, I totally go against from what Spencer says in terms of them being like a kind of creatively bankrupt studio, because they made fucking Spyro, they made Ratchet, they made Resistance, they made Sunset Overdrive on Xbox. This is just over their time of running, man. And now they're making Spidey. I think if there's any studio that's going to come out there with a really fresh, original idea that will be really creative with great weapons, great combat, it's going to be Insomniac, because their weapons across like every single game are just really creative. You think about what they do with Ratchet and Clank and what they did with Resistance. Like, I think about a hedgehog grenade like every other fucking day. Like a little grenade that you throw that then just goes up and then splits into a million different things. Or like the auger. What a great gun that was in Resistance. Being able to put up a shield in front of you, see through walls, shoot people through the whole scenery and the environment. They're super creative in that way. So, and I haven't played Sunset Overdrive, but everything I've heard has been overwhelmingly positive in terms of the movement, the aesthetic, the way that story works, everything. So, yeah, if it's not Resistance, my two cents on this is that they're going in for a new IP, and whatever it will be exciting.
I will quickly say before we move on, if it isn't Resistance, I would much rather it be a new IP than Ratchet, because I don't want a multiplayer Ratchet game. I want a co-op Ratchet game now that we have Rivet in the mix. I'd much prefer to see a 2-player online or local co-op Ratchet game, and that's where I want them to take Ratchet and Clank, because that could be sick. That could be so fun to play with your missus, or maybe you tell your missus you'll play, but then you actually play it with your best mate. That'd be way better. It'd be sick. So I don't want to see them do this with Ratchet. I'd rather either Resistance or a new IP, but hopefully Resistance.
So you're telling me you don't want to join into a highly competitive multiplayer version of Ratchet and Clank where people are using the Groovatron against each other and it turns into an esport where people are dancing?
That's just Fortnite, mate.
You don't want to see that? Come on, that's going to be a good thing, right?
It's just Fortnite, mate. I don't want Fortnite again. I'm good, mate. No. Co-op game.
I remember all those like PS3 games they had, like All for One, and all those like multiplayer Ratchet games, and they were all pretty shit. I think you bought like every single one, Phil, and we tried them all out at like different nights drinking vodka, and they never stuck. There was just something about them that just never stuck. They were fun enough, but it was never enough to bring us back. You know, we'd always just go back to the classics. We'd always go back into some Street Fighter generally. But, you know, whatever it was. But, yeah, who knows? Wait and see. But it's exciting news nonetheless that Insomniac are potentially working on another sequel. Again, very much a rumor, but it's got a little bit more weight from it because developer who is at Insomniac was talking about it on a podcast, saying, can't announce what it is, but I can tell you it's a multiplayer game. So, yeah, it's confirmed, really. But anyway, moving it on. Going to Phil. Now, Phil, there's a lot of classic shows, and when I'm thinking about different ones, I'm thinking your generation probably grew up on like the Jetsons, right? You were probably around in the 30s, so you were probably big on that. But I'm going to give you someone a little bit different. I'm going to give you Yogi Bear. We haven't heard a Yogi Bear impression on this show, I don't believe.
He's always talking about his picnic baskets. Quick news. Okay, so for me, my quick news, in the doc, we've just got a YouTube link, and this will be linked within the description of the show, and this links to the Maximilian Dudes YouTube channel where he has his first hands-on playthrough of Project L. So a little bit of background. Project L is a fighting game developed by Riot, the guys who make League of Legends, and it's all based around their characters. The ones that we've heard and we see within this play of the game is Ari, Darius, and we see a little bit of Echo. It's a 2v2 fighter, and one of the big things to come out of this video is the way that you can actually play it. It's not 2v2 in the conventional way. It's 2v2 in the sense that actually 3 people could play, 2 people could play, or 4 people could play. So it's quite a fluid setup. So for example, Spencer and me could team up and we could fight against Davey. Davey would go out, he would control 2 characters, and me and Spence would be able to tag in each other. Now that's kind of a new setup for a lot of fighting games. I think there was some sections of maybe Power Rangers, I think Max sort of talks about, where they borrowed some of these ideas, but it's very much a new thing to see within the fighting games world, really. This game is definitely being developed for the fighting game enthusiast. Max goes on a 13-minute rant about all the different things that they're cramming into this game. And I've been playing fighting games since day dot, back on the Super Nintendo all the way up. And even I didn't understand some of the stuff he was going through. So make sure you check out that video. Absolutely awesome. The graphics on this game look spectacular. There's a big step up from where we saw last time. Where we were just seeing the screenshots of Darius and Ari. This is full gameplay of Max fighting with the characters that I've mentioned. Definitely go and check it out. It's a really interesting video. I'm hyped for that. And part of this also we're going to get to see at EVO. So that's the big fighting games tournament that is happening in Las Vegas, I believe next week, as we're recording. I know the lads, you boys are going to come over. We're going to have an EVO night. We're going to celebrate and watch some of it. And I'm really hyped to see what they show of Project L. Now, I don't know about you, Davey, but I know, Spence, you're pretty hype on this one.
Hyped in the same sense of Mortal Kombat, where if it's good, I'm pissed off. Because I really like the characters in League of Legends. I know Jinx is confirmed to be in this game. and Jinx was my main in League. I'd always play bot lane, ADC, and I'd be playing Jinx. And if this game's good, I will 100% be maining Jinx. And maybe someone else, I suppose. It depends how it works. That 2v1 or 1v2 or 2v2 or 1v1, it's a different take on something that does kind of already exist. Like Max said, the Power Rangers battle for the grid. And in Dragon Ball Fighters, you could do it as well, where you could have 3 fighters on your team, each one controlled by someone, and they have these raid fights where you fight increasingly growing CPUs, and you kind of do it with 2 teammates. It's a really cool concept, and it's kind of Skullgirls-esque, where in Skullgirls you could choose to have 1 super-powered character, 2 medium-powered characters, or 3 weaker characters, and you could choose to kind of do that. It is kind of like that in concept, but it's definitely super interesting. The game does look like it has a lot. I watched this video as well, and Justin Wong also released a video. He got a chance to play it as well. I think it's quite an interesting looking game. Free to play it's going to be, and we're going to get a glimpse at Evo. I'm excited to see it, but I do kind of hope it's bad, just because I know it won't be, and I know I'll be playing it, but I want Street Fighter to be the fighting game. That's what I need it to be. And all these other fighting games, so many games are coming out now. Who has the time? I don't, not me. It's going to be great, and I'm going to play it, but get it away.
It seems like they're very much cherry picking from all the existing games, just trying to put all the best bits together. And as I said in my opener, they're very much positioning this to become like a really intense esports game. So it's going to be very difficult for anyone who doesn't understand these kind of techniques within fighting games and fundamentals to really get into the game. A lot like League in the sense that it is crushing when you're no good. You just sit in bronze forever, a bit like me. And I think this fighting game is very much going to be the same way. David, do you have any interest in this one?
Interest, I'm kind of on the fence. I did watch a video. I watched a different video from you guys. I watched Rooflemonger's video, which is an FGC creator I really enjoy. I've been watching his content ever since Dragon Ball was when I first found Rooflemonger. And his video was great. He broke down all the different mechanics. He broke down kind of everything about the game that you could see. He's like a big body grappler kind of player most of the time. So he likes like kind of the guerrilla characters. So he was talking about like Darius quite a lot. It looks interesting. I think for me, it having simple buttons is a really good way to get people in. Like modern controls are done with Street Fighter, so being able to have like one-touch supers and things like that, it kind of opens the door for accessibility. But then you've got a lot of mechanical depth behind it. So it does seem really quite interesting in the different ways that you can do it. You know, you've got all the standard things like push block, but you got a new reverse push block in this, so you can move yourself back into the corner quicker. That's quite interesting. I don't know. Something about it. You guys run about how pretty it looks. I don't think so. I think it looks really quite bland. I think it looks quite generic, to be honest. I don't think it looks great. The character models look cool. I think the designs on League characters all look great. Really interesting, really unique. But I don't know. Something about the cel-shaded look on it. It's not blowing me away. It doesn't look stylized enough for me at this stage. It looks quite basic. But there's a long way to go until we actually get to a full kind of release build, right? So God knows how long it's going to be before this comes out, how much extra polish, how much extra pizzazz they can do. Think about something like Dragon Ball FighterZ. Sure, it's a 2D art style, but there's something about it that's just so visually striking. It just looks incredible in every single animation, everything on there. So I think they can do quite a lot. From what I'm hearing, I'm interested. I don't know if it's going to be for me or not. I really don't. I think it's going to be that first pick up and play try. And if I try it and if I vibe with it immediately, the combat and the mechanics feel deep enough, sure, it's got me. I'm definitely not hyped at a base level for it though. So it's going to have to work a little bit to get me really invested.
Fair, and beauty is very much in the eye of the beholder. Spencer, I'm going to move it on to you this time. I'm going to swing it back round with the impressions. Famous cartoon characters that you would have seen. Let's think of something that's been in a video game. Let's make it really, really easy for you, okay? So let's do the Tasmanian Devil. Why not? That's a character I'm sure you know.
There he was. There he goes. He's gone like the wind. Quick news. So lads, PlayStation Extra is kind of turning into Game Pass at the minute. We have Sea of Stars launching August 29th. for the Xbox One and the Xbox Series, PS4, PS5, Switch, and PC. But it is coming to Game Pass and PlayStation Extra as a day one launch, and there is a demo available now. There's not too much to say about this one, but this is the first time in a while I believe we've had a launch title on Extra. I think the last time was maybe Stray. So what do you think, boys? Is this something you want to see more of, or are you kind of trying to get away from the Game Pass kind of way of working? What do you think?
I think really, I'm kind of indifferent on it, because the game is, a lot of people hyped about this game. A lot of people really excited about Sea of Stars. Very old school looking kind of JRPG from what I've seen. I don't know if that's true or not. I have really only seen like screenshots, a little tiny bit of gameplay. It looks like a really old school RPG. It looks cool. I think in general, in terms of game coming to the service, I've got no issue with it. I think if they want to launch on it, they get that back. Why not? You get that guaranteed money. And if you're going to do it on both. Because then you're getting paid from Game Pass and from PlayStation. So if you're going to go for one, you might as well go for two, if you can. And I'm sure as a studio like this putting this out, that was a nice cash injection, where then, it turns out if the game's great, then maybe word of mouth after it comes out of those services in a couple of months will carry it. But it all depends. It all depends on how much they got paid, I suppose, and if it works out in the long run, which is a gamble for the developers, right? But for us as consumers, there's no harm in it being free, is there? People that are going to buy it are going to be really happy in this. And for me, who's indifferent, I can just have it there if I do want to play it. If people turn out and say, fucking incredible, actual stealth game of the year, well, I got a chance to play it. So, win-win all round as far as I can see.
Nice. Phil, mate, what's your kind of opinion, just quick thought on this whole Game Pass, PlayStation Extra, launch day games? What do you think of it?
Well, I think it's quite nice for it to be on the system, but I was only complaining earlier that I really wanted to buy The Expanse because it came out today, day of recording, because we are recording on Thursday because we're on a wild one, tomorrow night being the Friday up in Cardiff, that I couldn't actually buy The Expanse physical. It's only digital edition. And of course, the Telltale games generally, I think, launch as a digital version anyway, because they tend to be like, they'll have episodes afterwards. And I think if you buy the bundle, you're guaranteed the other episodes. So I'll probably be playing that when I'm hungover on Sunday. But this game, it looks interesting. To me, it's got a very Wild Arms kind of aesthetic to it, which actually appeals to me. I did really enjoy that one back in the day. But I don't know if I'll have the time to play it. I think it's a heavy investment to play any of these kind of JRPGs, and the IP, again, it doesn't resonate with me. So unfortunately, it'd be a miss for me personally, but I think it is a benefit for it being on the system. And I'm happy when we get these little bonuses here and there. And as Davey said, if it turns out to be, a bit of a sleeper, a bit of a golden game hidden away, then it's nice to be on the service. You can go back to it any time and pick it up and play it.
Lovely, mate. To be fair, I couldn't agree with you boys more. For the consumer, for us, yeah, sound, give it to me. I'm not sure how smart it is to launch on both Game Pass and PlayStation, because you only need one to then create the word of mouth and then increase sales on the other system. Whereas now they can't really get sales on either. Sure, they can still sell copies on Switch, but Game Pass exists on PC and Xbox, and you have Extra on PlayStation. So they only really have one avenue for selling this game now. So it's kind of, I feel like they've limited themselves, shot themselves in the foot. But if it's a shit game, then they've made their bag. So it is a massive gamble, and I'm hoping it paid off for them. But the game itself, Sea of Stars, I'm good. I've got this too much to play. There's no way this is getting chucked in the mix as well. Even if reviews come out and it's stellar, probably not. I mean, if I'm not playing FF16, I'm not playing Sea of Stars. Let's not be silly.
They probably couldn't be further away from each other, to be honest, mate. At the moment, I don't think Final Fantasy 16 is like even an RPG. So I think they're totally separate ends of the ecosystem on this. But I get what you mean.
So that is Sea of Stars and the whole launch day free game debacle. Phil, coming back around to yourself.
Last one.
Now I gotta throw my brain, gotta enter my mind palace to think of cartoons from way back when. So I gotta think, what did I watch back in day? And there was a cartoon I'm thinking about that I used to adore, and I'm hoping you watched it as well. But let
Let's
me know
see.
if you haven't. The Incredible Hulk cartoon. I'd love just an impression of the Hulk.
Hulk smash! Quick news. Okay, guys, I want to talk about Project Q. And we've had a couple of leaks that have been circulating Twitter at the moment, and it's getting a little bit spicy. We're finding out that this handheld possibly could run PSP games and PS Vita games on an emulator because the screenshots we've seen in the little video that's circulating Twitter, we've seen it running on Android. So for someone like me, that opens up my mind for the possibilities, what we can actually do with this little beauty. For me, massively interested. This has boosted the hype. I think before it was a little bit, meh, you're just going to get to play games in bed. Yeah, do I really want to spend $300 on doing that? Not really. But having a PlayStation handheld running on Android where I can sideload some PSP games, some PS Vita games, definitely. I think this one has switched reverse things. And I think now it's going to get a little bit more popular. I don't know about you guys. I'm going to come over to you, Spence, first. What are you thinking? Have you changed your mind? Have you flip-flopped on this one?
Well, I mean, I was actually, if you remember last time we spoke about the Q, I was a bit interested in it anyway. And this, for me, doesn't actually add anything because Android, big dub. You can do a lot with Android. It's basically open. Do whatever you want. But as we know, this is a streaming console. I can't imagine it's going to have a lot of storage for you to sideload much, if any at all. I think you're going to be able to browse, maybe go on the internet, maybe jack off. But I don't think you're actually going to be able to chuck on some big Vita games or anything on the system, unless it's somehow as expandable storage, but I don't know why. If it's a streaming platform, they would give you the chance to, because officially, there's no purpose to install anything on there. So I'm not sure.
You have to plug in a hard drive, so when you're going like this, you've got like a hard drive dangling beneath
Connected to it.
It's already a ridiculous handheld anyway. Let's make it more ridiculous, and let's have a hanging hard drive on a lead. That would be beautiful.
See, but then this is where the proprietary comes in. They could make a case, like a MagSafe case with the battery on the back. You could have one with a little hard drive on the back of the case.
Make it heavier.
That's so sick.
Why not?
Fuck it.
Or like a PlayStation branded jacket where you put hard drives in and you wire yourself in when you're playing. Why not?
Games.
Endless possibilities.
They could do a join up with that vest, that tactical vest we spoke about last episode. So you can have the haptics while you play it in bed. So you're trying to wind down for the night, put your vest on. Sorry, love. You're looking like you just walked out of fucking Death Stranding. You got all this fucking packages and wires hanging off you. Oh, I'm sitting here so I can play fucking Tear Away.
You probably wouldn't want to walk into a bank with that on, would you?
Oh,
There'd be a lot of questions. I think the alarms would be going off if you walked into a bank with that vest on with hard drives all spinning on you. Yeah, not a good look. Not a good look.
Yeah, I don't think this whole Android thing, for me anyway, I don't think it'll come to fruition. I think obviously there's stuff you can do with it. I don't think it's going to be as open as people imagine. But that's my take. For all I know, it could have 100 gigs. We don't know yet, but I doubt it.
Fair, very skeptical on that one. So, Davey, we all know you are the king when it comes to hardware and PCs and all that kind of jazz. And I think a lot of this maybe just glosses over you. Did this one gloss over?
It didn't gloss over. It didn't. I think, with it running on Android, it does open up a load of possibilities. And I've gone on, downloaded loads of like games that aren't available now on my phone that you can't get anywhere else. Speaking of like Dead Space Mobile and stuff like that. So, and I've done things like this before when it comes to like, be able to like jailbreak certain devices. Very, very limited in my knowledge of doing it, but that's why YouTube exists, right? And so you could just follow a YouTube tutorial a couple of weeks out after launch. They'll probably find a way to crack into it, especially if it's run on Android, and Bob's your uncle. Does it interest me though? Does it boost me up? Absolutely fucking not. You could not do anything more to boost me up on this, honestly. It's a fucking waste of time. Why bother doing that and having some kind of, like you said, Spence, it's going to have very limited onboard memory. It doesn't need to, right? And it's very skinny. We've looked at it. It is just physically a tiny screen between two controllers. And I think seeing it in person, seeing it on that Twitter videos doing the rounds, it looks better than it did in the original showing of it. I think it looks really quite nice in person. It's just not fit for fucking purpose. And no matter what other bollocks you can sideload and put on this, let me tell you, as an ex-bank manager, if I saw somebody walk in with just this device, let alone with all the fucking hard drives spinning all over them, I'd close their account, boot them the fuck out the branch immediately. Because this whole thing is just a big waste of money. And for me, it's red flags all over the place. I think if you're going to go in and
sacked alongside that HSBC woman if you did that.
Yeah, the Coots woman, yeah. No,
the Coots woman, yeah.
I think in a court of law, it would hold up if I said this guy should not be trusted with an account because he just wasted £300 on nothing. And that he could just do with a Backbone one, which cost 90 quid, which even in itself is a total rip-off. So yeah, it doesn't bring me round to it. It's still a load of trash. But we'll wait and see. Who knows? If it's got shitloads of onboard memory, easy as hell to hack, and somehow playing these games unlocks trophies, maybe you'll get me in. But right now, having a bootleg version where I can't even get trophies to play my PS Vita games that sync up to the cloud, fuck off. Can't be fucked with it. Put it in the bin.
Fair enough. Some contrasting views on this one. I always thought it was going to be a device that we were going to be split on, but it's looking pretty good for me. So I'll let you know how it progresses. Well, viewers, listeners, that has brought us on to the end of Quick News. So we're going to have our votes as we normally do. So we're going to boost people up. We're going to put people down. But first, we're going to go over to Spencer and we're going to go for your best impression of tonight. Of course, we've done cartoon characters. Davey has given us Peter Griffin, Eric Cartman and Squidward. Spencer, you have done Shaggy, Piccolo and Taz. And I've done Optimus Prime, Yogi Bear and the Hulk. Who was your favourite of tonight?
Sure. Phil, mate, I think I'm going to come straight to you. I think my favourite was your Optimus Prime. I think the thing is, Optimus Prime, there's a very famous video of just a guy seeing a truck that looks like Optimus Prime. He's just like, Optimus Prime. And that's the noise I wanted. And you did it. And you added some little quotes in there as well. Loved it.
It's the noise I make when I play with my Transformers. You can see them behind me. When I get them out, as soon as that camera goes off, I've got Megatron in one hand, Optimus Prime in the other, and they're flying around my room, and I'm saying, Autobots, roll out. There we go. I'll take the win on that one. Davey, what about yourself?
I just think, actually, instead of you playing with them, what you're doing is you're like this. Yeah, straight over them, mate. Just chizzing all over your Transformers.
I thought you were going to say you were just making him kiss.
Oh, you could have been. Yeah, you do that after. I think for my favorite,
I can assure you, I'm not.
You're not doing that. Not spunking on them or not kissing them. Both.
Not the Transformers.
It's that hunter you got in the background, the Resident Evil hunter.
Well, it's those Gundams, baby.
Dripping off the wings. I think in terms of favourites, it's a tough call today. I don't think any of us really killed it today. I think I don't know what it was. I think some of them are a bit poor. I think throwing it back. I think they're all a bit. To be honest with you, throwing it back to the to Phil's coined term of the podcast. I think I'm gonna have to go for Phil. I'm gonna chuck it to you. Actually, I'm gonna probably chuck it to you, Yogi Bear, only because it's a bit of a deep cut, something that is well known, but you didn't really have to think about it, and I appreciated that. You were straight out with it, and even though it wasn't the best, it was fast and it was a little bit beneath the surface level for some of these ones that we did do.
I appreciate that, mate. Those picking it baskets have saved me once again. They saved me last show, and they saved me this one as well when I was getting chased by a bear last episode, wasn't I? For 100 million. I'm still waiting for that check. Spencer, I'm going to come to you first on your... Oh, no, actually, I've got to choose one now. I'm skipping myself. Although it doesn't matter, but my favourite of tonight. And I think it's because, Spence, you really put in the effort. And that would be your Piccolo. We got a little bit for the viewers. We got a little bit for the listeners. And everyone was happy with that because that was spectacular, mate. So you took the W from me. So I'm going to pass it back to you now. And I want your L's. Who was the worst of tonight? Who were you looking at and going, I could do better?
Class. Cheers, mate. Okay, so for my least favourite, thank you as well for that win. My least favourite of the night was probably, unfortunately, Davy Squidward. I thought it was just, you tried the voice, it was a bit off, but then also you just didn't have a clue what to say. Just SpongeBob, just twice and be like, quick news. So just for the lack of it, I mean, we ripped into Phil before for not watching SpongeBob, so I thought you'd just come in with a bit more. So for that reason, it's my loser.
Okie doke. So that's an L for Davey on that one. Davey, I'm going to pass to you. Which was your worst of tonight?
My worst of tonight, 100%, is my Cartman. I fucking sucked, bro. I couldn't do it. I tried. I thought I could get it, even with a double, and I messed up the lyrics. I've got to be honest to myself here. I could have done better. I should have done better. And I'm putting myself on the L. I deserve it tonight. I think we were all pretty shit, to be honest. And I think any of us could take them. I think the Taz was pretty bad because he's not like a... It's very mouthy with a Taz. So it's like... for a Taz. So I think it was...
Good job he didn't get Taz.
Yeah, so I think it was bad, the Taz. But I know myself, and I feel like I failed today. I feel like I let everyone down. I let you down, the audience. So... for a first podcast one, I'm making myself lose because I deserve to lose.
That's a turn up for the books because yet again, it doesn't matter. Davey, you've taken the L for this, so it'll be a shot in the dock. But let's see who I would have voted the worst. Now, Davey, I'm going to agree with you and I'm going to disagree with you. I don't think every impression was bad because I really appreciated your Peter Griffin. I thought that was spot on. I could have closed my eyes and I could be watching an episode of Family Guy with that little snigger that you did for Peter Griffin. Bang on. But yeah, I can agree with you on the Eric Cartman. I thought you might know this one. You thought you knew this one, but the words just didn't come out. And that's happened to us all the time on this podcast. We all mess up our words all the time. And on these impressions, we all think we're way better than we are. But Eric Cartman, it did you dirty. It wasn't great. But on the Squidward, talking about messing words up, on the Squidward one, because you're such a fan of SpongeBob SquarePants, I thought you would nail that one. So I thought that was an easy win for you. When that one came up, I thought, this is going to be our winner tonight. So yeah, I think you failed. You're going to take the L. Another shot in the dock, and we're going to move it on to the topics of tonight.
Stop! Topic time! And so we have arrived at the topics. So for today, guys, we are discussing Ubisoft. Now, we're not the biggest fans of Ubisoft. We made that very clear. They're probably our least favourite publisher. And they've been in the firing line. And to be fair, it looks like they've crossed the line. Now, this is the story from Twitter. So, Ubisoft is closing unused accounts, disabling access to purchase games, and the publisher claims that this is due to GDPR restrictions, which is all about basically, for those that don't know, it's all about making sure that your data, you can only hold it when it adds purpose to your business, when it has like a purpose to exist for you to hold that data. You can't have it in perpetuity. You can't have it in infinitum, as we like to say. So guys, following this news that Ubisoft are doing this and closing down these unused accounts, what do you think about it? Do you think this is something that's okay for them to do, or is this just way overstepping the mark? Phil, I'm going to come to you first.
Well, Davey, when I first read this article, of course, it's written in a way that, wants to fuel the fire. And it fuels the fire around what really actually grinds my gears. It's kind of that idea that all this digital content that we're buying, we don't have control over. And publishers and people that own platforms that host games can take that away at any time. And that really can get the mob fired up and angry about this. And I really was when I read this. Although I'm not, as you mentioned at the top of the topic, we're not the biggest Ubisoft fans, but if I did have games in my account and they were threatening to be closed down and I was going to be losing my games, of course I'd be angry about all this. Definitely, it would outrage me. I'd be straight on Twitter to talk about all this.
100%. Spence, are you feeling very much the same way?
I mean, at first I thought it was just outrageous. I thought it's such a cheeky thing to do. Like, some people have bought so many games on Uplay. I myself own multiple games on Uplay. I don't use it though. So I thought, that's fine. Even if my games get deleted, I was probably never going to play them again anyway. I mean, I'm a PlayStation player now. Wouldn't matter to me. The thing that irked me was that I saw someone reached out to Ubi and it said that games you've bought on Steam, Ubisoft games, if you buy them on Steam, when you launch them, it opens Uplay. And you play the game through Uplay. So even games that you've bought on Steam, you would still no longer have access to, even if you didn't actually purchase it on their platform. And I was like, that one pisses me off. Uplay shouldn't be able to alter your purchases on a different platform. And that's where I was like, nah, because that's my Uno. That's my Assassin's Creed 3. That's my Rainbow Six Siege, which out of those, Uno is probably the one I care about. I don't really care about any others.
You know, you can get that in card form, right?
I have it, mate. I have Uno Flip.
Oh, well, there we go.
And that's why I'm not that bothered. But if I was going to be bothered, drinking night with the boys over Discord, bit of Uno, that's just out the window because Ubisoft have erased my copy of the game. So I thought about that and I thought, yeah, it's outrageous for them to do this. And as much as I'm not a tweeter, I wouldn't tweet about something I'm angry about. It's not something I do. I could understand the fury.
Yeah, and I was very much the same. I saw this and it was immediately, right, topic of the show. This is horrendous. This is another punch down on Ubisoft. We're just going to go off on them. They're already a studio that are struggling financially. They're not being able to put out quality games. They haven't put out a quality game in a while. And here we are now, and they're going to be stripping people's accounts, and I was all fire and brimstone, and get the pitchforks out, lads. It's time to fucking go over there and kill these French guys, right? Until I did a little bit more digging. And I know that you guys are aware of this now as well, but it turns out you've all been fed a sack of lies. Because everything I've seen on Twitter for the last week and a half, even 2 weeks maybe, is just all about Ubisoft being bad, stripping people's access, taking games away. Well, actually, that's all totally lost. That is a total lie. Because you go onto their closure of inactive Ubisoft accounts on their website, and this is what the article says verbatim, okay? Inactive Ubisoft accounts with no PC purchases or active subscriptions tied to them may be closed in order to comply with data protection laws after long periods of inactivity. Accounts tied to an active Ubisoft account or an activated PC game, no matter where it was purchased, will not be eligible for deletion. So if you've bought a game on PC, you're fine, no matter how long it's been. So your copy of Uno, Spence, you could play that in 15 years, 20 years' time. You could just get that urge for that Uno and think, I'm going to fire it up. And they will not close your account down. It's only for those accounts, like I can think of for myself. For my Uplay, for example, because it's linked to my PlayStation 3, when I was playing lots of Assassin's Creed, I haven't really played Ubisoft games since then. So if I got an email through saying, we're going to close your account down in 30 days, it's not really the end of the world. What am I going to lose? Some wallpapers I earned from Assassin's Creed Black Flag 15 years ago that I could look at? Nothing really of any real substance. And I could just restart and do a brand new account. It wouldn't be the end of the world. Normally, we always say, with this smoke, this fire. In this case, that is not happening. This smoke, there ain't fire. That's someone just farting into the wind. And you're getting that backwash through the nostrils, boys. There is nothing going on here whatsoever. And it just begs the question, how easily things can be spun, how they can be misrepresented to be able to rile up and to be able to get clicks. Because ultimately, a website like this, like the article that I originally got this from, was from VGC, who are a source that we use quite a lot for this show. And in this, they've done no due diligence. They've done nothing. Or if they have, they've chosen to willingly go against that to be able to portray something as a severe negative so that they can get people coming to their website and reading all about how they're going to get fucked out of their games. Now, guys, this is a major problem. As far as I see it, it's something that we see all the time across social media. Social media is really bad for this. People not being able to source things. People being able to actually convey facts and figures and have them in a totally different limelight, depending on the mediator that's come through. What do you think about this, guys, this entire situation? What's your reaction been after kind of learning this news and the truth behind this? Phil, I'll come across to you first.
I find it mad. I really do. And I don't think, we as a podcast, we're complete saints here. Because I can imagine we've probably read out misinformation in the past and really gone for what the story's angle was, purely because we didn't do our due diligence. And I don't think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people will find the biggest headline, grasp onto that, and start putting their weight behind it to, as you said, farm those clicks, get those views, get those subscribers, which everyone now is going to subscribe to our YouTube, because I know our subscriber rate isn't the highest at the moment. I think 70% of people actually don't subscribe who watch our videos. So subscribe now. If we're not reporting misinformation, this is actually correct. We've actually researched this now. We've actually done the proper thing here, and we're telling you the right facts. So yeah, make sure you subscribe. But yeah, you're right. We see this all the time, and it is absolutely mad. And it's actually a good thing to actually realize this happens. And I think now, moving forward, we're on episode 72 of this podcast. I think this is going to make us a little bit more interested now in the background of the things that we read out. I think this is going to force us to do a little bit more research when we're announcing things that are happening, and not just read the biggest headline that we can just to include it in the show because we believe it's going to get a little bit more traffic. I think it's going to make everyone just, look at themselves a bit more, actually, especially us.
Very true. Spence, what are you thinking?
Sure. So I was very much fire and brimstone as well. I was ready to come in swinging, absolutely screaming at Ubisoft, someone we already aren't a fan of, and just doing this outrageous thing. I have a game. My account's not going anywhere. And every single headline has been saying, if you don't go on your Uplay account in 30 days, you'll lose your account. That's not even true itself. That's not true. If you haven't been on your account in 4 years, it's eligible for deletion if it also has no games or subscriptions. They just send you a reminder in the last 30 days. So even if you don't have any games and you for some reason still want Ubisoft to have your information, which really is doing you a privilege, deleting your information for you, then log back in. It's, again, not even hard. It's been 4 years, there's a forgotten password button. Just sign back in. It's not that deep. If you care about your account, which has no games, it's ridiculous. It has fully been spun the complete wrong way. Everyone is playing the villain, trying to just farm clicks with this. And Phil, I actually completely agree, where it's kind of changed our perspective on things. And I think we kind of, whenever we see some bad news now, probably going to be like, is it bad news? Why is this happening? And it's weird it took this. The big point I want to make is just sometimes Twitter needs to shut the fuck up. Really needs to shut up. They just see a headline, that's all the information they take, and they spread it further. Word of mouth is huge, and no one does their due diligence. No one. I think we just need to be the ones that do. And as long as we do that, I'm happy. So I think it's fine. Just fuck Twitter off. Come to us. Subscribe. 5 stars.
You guys are totally bang on. I think this is a real wake-up call for us in particular. As somebody that does relay news, I know a lot of our show is just banter and talking bollocks for a lot of it, but we do have an entire section of our show called Quick News. And with that, we're very reliant on Twitter, on IGN, on VGC, all these different news outlets who are putting their news through a filter. And whatever that filter is, it's going to be a way to maximize clicks, to get money for them, to get eyes on their stuff. I'm sure if somebody put out a contra to this article, say, actually, Ubisoft ain't doing too bad, nobody would give a fuck. No one would click on it, right? It wouldn't get any kind of traction whatsoever. So why would they bother doing that? Why would they bother looking into it? And we need to now just take a moment. And I think this is just a case for everyone on social media to just, whenever you read something, take a minute just to go 1 or 2 frames deeper, just to go just a little bit below the surface. If you've got the onion, to go beneath the skin and dive straight into the middle of that layer, right? Or if you've got a vagina, peel it back and go straight up there, right? Chuck it straight in all the way, yeah. Spread it open. You get the baby out of there, get that baby out, right? Straight and in the fucking mix on there, right? Yeah, fist straight up. Whatever the analogy is, the cake with the icing, whatever you want to do, if you want to be a little bit more family friendly here. The thing about it is, just take that moment, and for us, it's a case of going directly to the source. if we've got something like this, we've got a video game developer with this bad news bears all round, we'll just go on and look what they've put out for their press release and where everyone else is getting this information from. Because 99% of the time, there's rational reasons. Now, there's times when there isn't, of course, and there is fire and brimstone required. And where that is, rightly so, will come down like a ton of bricks on them. But things like this, Ubisoft, for once, haven't done anything wrong. They're being totally normal, and I cannot believe how easily it was, when I've got a negative opinion on something anyway, to have the blindfold put on that simple. You know, where I see 3 tweets about it and think, yeah, that's true. And it's because I don't like them. If it was Sony doing it, I definitely would have gone onto the terms and looked at it straight away. I mean, like, I bet that isn't the case. Especially if like Xbox people had tweeted it out, I would have been like, right, well, I doubt this. But because I'm already in that negative perception on something, I'm already suckered in. And I'm in that mindset already. So it's just easy to trick me then at that point.
Certain companies just have that, don't they, in the video games industry? As soon as you hear anything about EA, you go, there we go, EA have done it again. Ubisoft are the same. I think Blizzard probably have got to that level after all the shenanigans that have gone on, but maybe we should go back and fact check them after all the reports that we've done on the podcast. But yeah, definitely, I think in the future now, we just need to dig a little deeper. I loved all those analogies. I'm not going to go for one myself, but doing due diligence on the background of these stories and kind of just understanding why people are writing them, you know, let's do that. I think that's the service that we should be providing moving forward with the podcast. I'm not saying it's a complete promise, but we're going to do our best now moving into our next 72 episodes for sure.
And so I suppose following that, guys, when it comes to video game news and the way things are done, I've been feeling for a long time that journalism in this industry is pretty much dead. That we're at a point whereby Kotaku just puts out hit piece after hit piece, and whenever you read them, there's no substance, there's no real integrity or journalistic integrity to anything they put out. It's all just opinion pieces which are very, very clickbaity and frankly bollocks in a lot of what they put out. So I know that Kotaku is just a no-go, but I find this is just very similar across the industry that we're in. And it's not like the news when you're looking at, like, you know, you go on BBC News, for example, and it's supposed to be impartial, but generally they lean more left-siding, I find, or they used to. Now they're going more right-sided. Whenever you pick up a paper, you know which angle, which lens it's going to be through. If it's the Sun, it's going to be right-wing led. If it's something like The Guardian, it's a little bit more left. And so you can kind of see the same story but spun in 3 different ways. Do you think that as journalists for video games, that we should demand better in terms of our coverage, that we should be able to see people having proper sources, that they should reach out to developers, that there should be this level where things are kind of fact-checked to a certain extent before they hit that publish button? Or do you think that era of video game journalism is dead and we're in this point now where it is just a race for clicks? Where do you think we are in terms of getting our news?
I think we're definitely past that era. 100%. I think most people, their sources for information is either Twitter or YouTube. And most people have, rather than, say, an actual reviewer of a game, they have a YouTuber they like, and they'll watch them play an early build or them play the game. And they'll trust them more than an actual reviewer, especially now. For months, there's been controversy with reviewers playing games, and they always play on easy mode, or maybe only play actually an hour of the game, or they skip the cutscenes, or they play with accessibility options, or they just don't play the game. They're all just taking the easy way out, and it doesn't seem like there's a reason not to, because when they write it in a document, no one's going to know that, anything they've done. And with the journalism stuff, they're not going to want to talk about something that's not going to anger you, really. The issue is bad publicity is publicity, and at the minute, the internet, if something great comes out, no one's talking about it. No one's talking about it. If something horrible happens, it's a storm online. Absolute storm. It's always going to be spun in a negative point of view. Almost everything will. And journalism, I don't think it's something a lot of people should even really pay attention to anymore. If it's something you're keen for, dig into it yourself. Don't listen to someone else. If there's a new game coming out, look at the developers. Look at gameplay. Look at maybe reviews if you want, but try find a good source. Just dig around. Don't just look at one review and think, oh, that's the game. That's the game. Actually do your own due diligence for everything and just fuck off with all this journalism bullshit, because it's all begging for attention. That's all of it is. And I don't think we're ever going to get back to the old ways.
And of course, we are begging for your attention, so I thank you very much for staying tuned to MPS We Trust. But for me, my point of view on this one is that who do you trust in this world full of baiting? You know, do you go to the streamers who've been paid, who are sponsored by a certain company, so they'll put them in a very, you know, rose-tinted glasses kind of light? Do you go to the news outlets that are paid by companies, have agreements with companies? Who is truly objective in this world? I don't think anyone is. Everyone is in it for a reason. And I think you need to make that decision as a viewer, as a listener. You make that decision by your subscription or your eyes, your clicks. You back the person that pleases you ultimately. So if your views align with ours, thank you very much. If they don't, then there's other podcasts to be listening to. I think when it comes to news outlets, again, there is thousands of different websites that will report all different types of things about video games. You just have to find out what you agree with and what you want to stick with. And Twitter, I agree with Spencer. As much as I love Twitter, it's an echo chamber, and it is really funny to track things, how they change, because it's almost like Chinese whispers on Twitter, isn't it? Someone will say something, it'll get changed a little bit, it'll move to something else, and by the end of it, we're not even talking about the same topic. It's changed completely, man. It just... But that's the world we live in, isn't it? That's the world of social media. I think at the end of the day, you just got to choose who you agree with most and just stick with them and back them.
Really well said, guys. I totally agree with both of you. I think the way to do it is that you find individuals that your personal opinions vibe with. And it's up to that individual then to be able to prove really that they're on the level. So I think for us, when we've had a couple of games for free, like when I had Tormented Souls and I had, another game, I can't remember it now off the top of my head. I did a review for it.
Scars Above,
that's it. Thank you, Spence. And I was very quick to mention right out the gate, I was supplied this game for free. Here is my terms. This is what I wasn't allowed to say. This is what I was allowed to say. So that it frames the conversation. You know, at that point, I'm trying to be as transparent as I possibly can. And I think that anyone you follow, any YouTube reviewer or anything like that, it's up to them to really be able to disclose that stuff. And I think this is where we get into very muddy water when it comes to streamers and we've seen it countless times. We talked about this on the show loads, as you mentioned earlier, Phil, where they're shilling for like Exoprimal or they're shilling for any of this absolute bullshit because they've been given a free bag, a free sticker, and a fridge magnet. And they're quite happy.
What was that multiplayer? What was the multiplayer you guys played?
Yeah, it was X-Defiant, mate.
There it is. And that's the thing. There's so many cases of this all across the internet. As we've been saying for this entire topic, just be careful. And all you can do is just try and not get suckered in. Try and make up your own mind, not follow the herd, not be a sheep, and just anything you consume, any media or any information, try and go that little bit deeper.
I'm happy with our advice to our viewers, our listeners. You can just go a little deeper. And I think that advice just goes across multiple levels there. You can use it however you want, listeners. Just go a bit deeper.
I think no one ever complains when it's too deep, right? They might get a little complaint after the fact, but at the time they're into it, right? So I think, if you don't go deep enough, you failed. Going too deep sometimes is always the best way. Deep Impact is what I'm always thinking of.
That's your nickname, isn't it?
That's the nickname, yeah. That's what the wife calls me. Right, guys, that brings episode 72 to a close. What a great episode it's been. It's been a fucking pleasure to podcast with you guys, as it always is. I've absolutely loved it. Listeners, if you've enjoyed it, you know what to do. Put a like on the video. Subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. It really does help us. Thank you ever so much for everyone that does come by and watch us. do this stuff for you. For those on podcast services, a couple of ways you can support us. The first is putting a 5-star rating on the show. If you didn't think it was 5-star, if you thought it was less than that, put whatever rating you feel like that's on there. However, for anything less than 5-star, I will come round and I will fuck you up. So 5 stars, please. Really, really appreciate that. If you are listening on those other podcast services, another way of showing us some love, sharing. Share around. Tell your mum. Tell your dad. Tell your brother. Tell your sister. Tell that guy that lives 2 doors down the road that always peeks through those curtains at you. That guy is always judging you a little bit on your parking or what you're wearing that day. That guy. Tell him all about the show. I'm sure that he'll get a kick out of talking about what pills we're going to take and which powers we're going to get. I'm sure they'll love that. But that has been it for this episode, guys. Now, I have been Davey.
I've, of course, been Deep Impact.
And I've been Shallow.
I've been Phil.
I've been Spence.
Take care, guys.
Peace.
In PS We Trust is hosted by Davey, Phil, and Spencer. You can write into the show via our email, pswetrust@gmail.com. Our Twitter is @InPSWeTrust. To find each of us online, follow our Twitters, @SSJDavey, @PhilipHoy, @SpenPie_. Thank you for listening. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. See ya.